Chapter 1624. What? Lu Li's body trembled. He couldn't believe what he had heard. If it was the allied forces of humans, then the four superforces must have joined hands. The 72 sects and many other forces had fought as well. More than half of the human warriors should have come out. How could they lose so badly? Space-Time Office had lost 3 supreme warriors from the divinity. How many of the allied forces of humans had died? Lu Li calmed himself down and asked, "How do we lose? How many have died? What is the situation now?" Traitors. There are traitors in our human army. There are demon slaves. The scouts said angrily. The demon army attacked the Stars and Moons Island, and that is what happened. It took the scout the time for 3 incense sticks to burn to finish his explanation. Lu Li was distressed as well. At least 100 million human warriors and 7 supreme warriors from the divinity perished in this war. 3 groups of demons attacked the Stars and Moons Island. Humans were supposed to mobilize armies and powerful warriors from the other 3 islands to fight to the death. However, there was a mole at the Stars and Moons Island. The teleportation altars were destroyed, and the formations were destroyed as well. The number and powerful warriors of the human army were greater than that of the demon army. However, with the teleportation altars destroyed, warriors and armies from the other islands could not be teleported over. What was more, the formations to restrain demons were destroyed. The hundreds of demon slaves unleashed their energy of the demon and turned many human warriors into demons. The Stars and Moons Island was in chaos. If it were not for the fact that the Master of Space-Time Office at the Stars and Moons Island killed the demon slaves in person, millions of human warriors would have been turned into demons once the demon slaves ravaged the island. Then, there would be a chain reaction and things would go out of control. The demon army took the chance to launch a large-scale attack. That 10-winged demon fought against the Master of Space-Time Office. The Master was defeated and had to retreat with injuries. What happened next was needless to say. The Stars and Moons Island was already in chaos. The formations to restrain demons were destroyed, and the Master of Space-Time Office was defeated. The situation was out of control. The human army suffered a crushing defeat with nearly 100 million casualties. 7 supreme warriors from the divinity died, including 3 from Space-Time Office. The number of supreme warriors from the divinity and the number of mighty warriors from the divinity could not be counted. The scout was scouting on the outside when he was chased by demon scouts. He had to run away, and Lu Li ran into him. Idiot! After hearing this, Lu Li only cursed. The Space-Time Mansion Lord was too careless. He didn't even know that the experts of Star Moon Island had been controlled by the demons. Moreover, it was a foolish decision for the 4 Transcendents to split up their forces. It was impossible for the evil demon army to bypass the Stars and Moons Island to attack the immortal world directly. Therefore, the evil demon army had to take down the Stars and Moons Island. Since that was the case, why did they need to split up? As long as all the formidable martial artists and soldiers were gathered in one place, it would not be that easy for the evil demon army to take them down. Of course, Lu Li's words were somewhat belated. Anyhow, the defeat of the allied human forces was inseparable from the strategic mistakes of the 4 leaders. Fortunately, the 4 leaders were not too stupid. They set up a second line of defense in the east of the God Realm. It was just that the eastern side of the immortal world was vast and boundless. How could they defend against it? Besides, even if they could defend the east, could they defend the south? If Lu Li was the commander of the demons, he could just send a few thousand middle-level demons to sneak into the divinity from the south and take control of demon slaves. At that time, the immortal world would be thrown into chaos, and the situation would be completely out of control. I must take the initiative to attack. A glint of determination rose in Lu Li's eyes. The only way was to attack instead of defend and keep attacking the demon army. The demon army would not be able to fend for themselves and invade the divinity. I'm leaving. Lu Li waved his hand and flew up to the mountain. He turned around and said, "If you can go back, tell the leaders of the 4 forces that I, Lu Li, will settle the score with them in the future. I, Lu Li, will settle the score with them later. Now that the enemy is here, We must work together to kill the alien races. Don't fight among yourselves. Whoosh, Luli flew away and soon vanished into the distance. The scout was taken aback. A moment later, his lips trembled as he said, Luli, the god of slaughter, Luli. It is him? He really is a hero. The scout had heard about Luli killing demons. The scout exclaimed and hurried to the north. He must bring the news back. At the very least, it could boost morale, if nothing else. Luli flew toward the southeast. This time, in just over 2 hours, he ran into enemies. He ran into a team of demon scouts. The scouts were surprised as well, because they could not see where Luli was. All they saw was a mountain flying toward them. Just as they were in a daze, the sky suddenly lit up with a shocking saber light. The saber light turned twice in the air, and then heavily struck the bodies of the demons. Bang! 6 demons were reduced to a mist of blood. Since Luli had used his move, he was exposed. The rest of the demons screamed and rushed towards Luli in a frenzy. Buzzing, Luli released the power of space and suppressed the remaining dozen or so demons. He swung his demon slayer a few times and killed all the low-level demons, except for one 4-winged demon. Luli flew over quickly and stood above the 4-winged demon. He said coldly, Answer my question and you can live. If you don't die. Luli stopped using spatial force. He was not worried that the demon would turn around and kill him. The 4-winged demon was no threat to him. He could kill it easily. The demon blinked in surprise and asked, You have the smell of my race. Why haven't you been demonized? The smell of your race? Luli put on a mocking smile. The armor disappeared, revealing the black scales. He said with a cold smile, Now, I look more like a demon slave. How is that possible? The 4-winged demon was even more shocked. He murmured, You have been demonized. How dare you fight against us? That is so strange. No, the smell of demons on you must be fake. You're not demonized. The scales on you must be fake as well. I'm the real deal. Luli patted the scales on his chest and said, There are always accidents in this world. I'm that accident. Now, it is time for you to answer my question. How many 10-winged demons and 8-winged demons did you send? How many demon warriors did you send? The demon sneered and shook his head. We demons are unyielding even in the face of death. You want to get information from me? In your dreams. Buzzing, all of a sudden, a black air came out of the demon. Luli was about to suppress him when the black air turned into black flames. Then, the flames engulfed the demon. Chapter 16:25. Although Luli didn't get any information from the 4-winged demon, he did get some information from their conversation. He looked like a regular demon slave. If he didn't kill or speak, then he would be a demon slave in the eyes of the demons. In other words, he had a chance to sneak into the demon army and get some information. Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will never be defeated. In a battle between 2 armies, information was very important. How many demons could he kill alone? Once he encountered a powerful 8 or 10-winged demon, he would be dead for sure. If he could get some useful information and secretly pass it to the 4 legendary forces, they could make arrangements and defeat the demon army. This way, he could turn the situation around and win. Let's try. Luli thought for a moment and decided to take the risk. With his abilities, regular demons couldn't kill him. Even if he was discovered by the demon army, he still had a chance to escape. Let's go. Luli continued to fly the mountain while he went invisible, looking for the demon army nearby. This time, he was unlucky. It took him a whole day to find a demon army. There weren't many of them, only a few hundred. What is this? The demons had found the mountain from afar, but Luli didn't go closer. Instead, he flew the mountain away. The demons chased after Luli at once. However, the mountain was too fast for the demons to catch up. Soon, Luli lost them. It's about time. Luli put away the mountain and dashed out. He also put away the cloaking armor, revealing the black scales on his body. His body was bowed, and there was not a trace of emotion on his face. He was like a walking corpse walking on the surface of the lake. He didn't choose to walk towards the demons. Instead, he walked around them slowly, waiting for them to catch up. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, the demons caught up. When they saw Lu Li, they were all stunned. One demon said in surprise, "Why is there a demon slave here? Also, this demon slave is very strong. This kind of demon slave should be under the command of the Lord. Why is it here?" The rest of the demons thought about it and swarmed over, surrounding Lu Li. Lu Li stood there numbly. The group of demons glanced at him, and one of them shouted, "This isn't a demon slave. It's a disguise. Kill him." Lu Li paused for a second. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He waved his sleeve and released spatial force. Lu Li used the space grinder to kill the demons. Eventually, only the demon that saw through Lu Li's identity remained. "How did you see through my disguise? I think I'm very good at disguising myself. You demons are so dumb. When did you become so smart?" Lu Li asked with a frown. The spatial force was no longer suppressed. "Brilliant," the demon sneered and said, "Demon slaves have a natural fear of us demons. You actually don't kneel to us. Moreover, the devil's slave has a red glow in his eyes. Although your eyes are dull, there is no red glow. No, you're trying to trick me." The demon reacted and rushed towards Lu Li in rage. His demonic energy surged out and enveloped Lu Li. Hee. Lu Li dashed away and grabbed the demon's neck. He was not afraid at all, even though he was enveloped by the demonic energy. The demonic energy in him was a higher level. That was the origin energy of an 8-winged demon. How could a demonic energy of such a level work on him? "I told you demons are stupid. You don't believe me?" Lu Li stared at the demon coldly. He exerted some strength and broke the demon's neck. He used the space grinder to shred all the bodies of the demons and left. Lu Li felt troubled after he got the information. He had never seen devil slaves before, so he did not know their style. He could be seen through easily. Also, the red glow in his eyes. Lu Li's eyes were red before, but he was affected by the demonic energy and his mind was not clear. What was the point of getting the information when he was not in a clear state of mind? Right, the Slayer's move. Lu Li had an idea. When he used the Slayer's move, his eyes would glow red as well, but it would be tiring to maintain it for a long time. Let me find the devil's slave first. Lu Li thought about it. If he wanted to blend into the army of demons, he must find the devil's slave and observe it for a while. In this way, he could imitate the devil's slave without giving himself away. Lu Li flew for 2 hours. He saw a dark air rising up in the distance. He knew there must be a large group of demons over there. He put away the mountain at once and went over in stealth mode. It is a small island. There must be demons here. There might be devil slaves. Lu Li checked from the distance. He did not go closer at once. Instead, he walked around for a while. Eventually, he made sure that there were not many demons on the island, and there should not be any powerful ones. He snuck into the island with ease. The entire island was shrouded in demonic energy. The island was neither large nor small. Lu Li did not dare to use psychic power for fear that the demons would notice. He had to sneak around and observe with his eyes. There were not many demons on the island. There were demons here and there. Not long after Lu Li entered the island, he saw something that almost made him lose his mind. There were dozens of demons on the island. They were grilling, and it was human flesh. Dozens of demons skewered the corpses with iron rods and were grilling them in the fire. Some of them were eating. Hold on. Lu Li suppressed his murderous intent and left with his teeth clenched. He didn't dare to watch any longer. He was afraid that he would tear the demons apart one by one. He left because he thought there might be devil slaves on the island. He searched around and soon discovered the existence of the demon slave. There were many devil slaves, more than 1,000 of them. They were all squatting in a low-lying pit like pigs and dogs. There were no demons guarding the devil slaves nearby. They were all obedient. They were all squatting on the ground, and none of them dared to move. Their bodies were covered with black scales, and there was a faint red glow in their eyes. There were men and women among them. They looked lifeless, no different from the walking dead. They probably had no consciousness of their own and were completely controlled by the demons. These people didn't move, and Lu Li didn't want to either. He observed quietly. After several hours, some demons walked over and all the devil slaves moved. As if sensing the demon's aura, they all shivered and prostrated themselves on the ground, their expressions filled with fear and terror. I see. Luli nodded. It seemed that devil slaves had a natural fear of demons. They would crawl on the ground instinctively when they saw demons and would tremble because of fear. Bang, bang, bang. A few evil demons swaggered over and reached out their sharp claws to grab a few of the evil demons, bursting their heads. They then grabbed the corpses and walked away. It was obvious that they were going to roast human flesh again. Die. Luli couldn't stand it anymore. He showed himself and rushed over like a ghost. His hands grabbed a demon's legs and directly tore the demon into two. Chapter 16:26. What? Many demons were stunned by Li's sudden killing, but they reacted quickly. They were all enraged and charged at Li in a frenzy. Li didn't take out his demon slayer, nor did he use his force in heaven and earth. Instead, he fought with the demons directly. These demons were low-level, two-winged demons. Their attacks could not break his defense. Even if they could, Li didn't care. He just wanted blood for blood and a tooth for a tooth. These Asmodeans were no longer human beings, but they used to be Li's compatriots. Li was enraged to see the demons treating them like beasts, slaughtering them, and even roasting them. He charged forward and tore the demons apart. His physical strength was strong. He didn't have to use any skills, and he could tear demons apart with his physical strength alone. Roar, roar. Li had just torn apart several demons when the Asmodeans nearby rushed forward to attack him. Clearly, the demons had given the Asmodeans an order to attack Li. Go. You'd rather die than live like this. Li slapped with one hand and released Space Twist to strangle those demon slaves to death. The demons in the distance were alarmed. They rushed over and joined the fight. There were not many demons here, perhaps only over 1,000. The most powerful ones were only 3 four-winged demons. For Li, this was not a problem. After the time for several incense sticks to burn, there were no more living beings on the island. All the Asmodeans and demons had been killed by Li. Li didn't leave right away. Instead, he moved the bodies of the Asmodeans to a low-lying area and buried them with soil. These people had died the moment they became Asmodeans. At this moment, Li had found a burial place for them. Let's go. After Li buried everyone, he left in sorrow. He imagined how miserable it would be if the divinity was conquered. By then, all humans would become slaves. They would be slaughtered, desecrated, and even eaten like beasts. They would be skewered and roasted with iron forks, just like before. I must find a way to defeat the demon army. I cannot let that happen, even if I have to die. Li made up his mind again. He didn't have many family members in the divinity, but seeing people being roasted and eaten still upset him. They were of the same race as him. They were compatriots. Facing the invasion of alien races, all humans were family, brothers, and sisters. Li could empathize with their sufferings. Go! Li flew over and wandered around. He forced himself to calm down. He had to gather some information first. Killing thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of demons would not change the overall situation. He still had to find a way to obtain useful information. After traveling for half a day, he arrived at the group of islands near the Stars and Moon Island. There were more demons here. Li wandered around and found that there were demons stationed on every island. It was obvious. The Star and Moon Island had been conquered, and it had become the base camp of the devils. Most of the experts of the devils were probably in the Star and Moon Island, ready to attack the immortal world at any time. Sneak in. Li locked onto a small island and snuck in. There weren't many demons on this island, only a few hundred. There were no human demon slaves here, so the demons were very obediently gathered together to cultivate. The cultivation of the demons was different from that of humans. They were all consuming a kind of material. Seeing this, Li was even more suspicious that the beasts were the descendants of the demons because the deaf Taoist would consume materials when he cultivated as well. Luli didn't kill the demons because the stars and Moon Island was nearby. Once he did something, he would alert the demons. Killing the hundreds of demons would be pointless. Luli lurked nearby, waiting patiently. Those demons couldn't cultivate all the time, could they? After waiting for half a day, at noon, the demons all stopped their training and began to gather together to chat. Some demons of a man and a woman began to copulate, and they did it in the wild. Luli paid no attention to the demons that were begging for sex. He listened carefully to the chatter of the other demons. Soon, he was intrigued because he had learned some information from the chatter. There should be 2 10-winged demons in the demon army this time. This was because demons would often mention these 2 people's names with fanatical and pious expressions. If they were not 10-winged demons, ordinary demon lords would not be so fanatical. Yuhong Yuri. Those are the names of the 2 10-winged demons. When the demons were chatting, they would talk about how Lord Yuhong and Lord Yuri would lead them. The 2 demons must be the commanders of the demons. A 10-winged demon once injured the Master of Space-Time Office. The Master of Space-Time Office was ranked 5th on the list, which meant that this 10-winged demon could be among the top 3 in the divinity. Luckily, there are only 2. Luli exclaimed. The 10-winged demon was so powerful. If there were a dozen of them, nobody in the divinity would be able to stop them. Who are the first and second on the list? Will they do something this time? Luli murmured to himself. He had seen the list before. The third was the Master of the Hall of Purgatory, but the first and second were not announced. The Master of Space-Time Office was 5th, the Master of Cabinet of Mystery was 4th, and the Master Craftsman Sect was 8th. If the first and second on the list did not come out, the leaders of the 4 forces would not be able to defeat the 2 10-winged demons. That being said, the 2 powerful warriors would not sit idly by when the divinity was at stake. Some secluded sects would come out as well. Wait, Luli suddenly remembered Lu Ling's family. Needless to say, that family was powerful. Only supreme warriors in the divinity could go up to the Mountain of Dragons. Lu Ling said that only supreme warriors in the divinity were qualified to meet them. What did that mean? It meant that the minimum requirement to be recognized by Lu Ling's family was to be a supreme warrior in the divinity. Her family must have many supreme warriors in the divinity, or else they would not be so arrogant. If my sister's family comes out, maybe I will have the chance to meet her. Luli's heart was burning with passion, but soon he pulled a long face. He was half human and half demon now. He was covered in black scales. How could he meet Lu Ling when he looked like this? And Qi Shi'er, how was Qi Shi'er now? Where did Wang Shun take Qi Shi'er? Would Qi Shi'er do something stupid? Luli was confused on this thought. His heart was filled with sorrow. Lord Yuhong said that in 10 days, we will attack the divinity. TSK. Once we reach the divinity, we can enslave all the humans in the divinity. The most fertile land will belong to us, the Asmodeans. Ha ha ha. The divinity should have belonged to us a long time ago. The realm of demons is lacking in Xian Qi and materials. This time, we can only win, not lose. Kill the lowly humans. We, the Asmodeans, will be the master of the world. The voices of the demons attracted Lu Li's attention. He shook his head to get rid of the distracting thoughts and focused on collecting information. Human scouts could not sneak in or they would be demonized. Therefore, the information he gathered must be very important to the human army. Chapter 16:27. After 2 hours of listening, Luli didn't learn much, but he did get some useful information. For example, there were more than 100 million demons in the demon army. There were 2 10-winged demons, more than 108 winged demons, and countless 6-winged demons. There must be at least tens of thousands of 6-winged demons. This time, the fiend world practically turned out in full force. The fiend world's spiritual qi of heaven and earth was scarce, and divine materials were scarce. Compared to the divine world, the living environment of the fiend world was too harsh. Therefore, this time, the demons were cutting off all means of retreat. If they couldn't conquer the divinity, they would rather all die in the divinity. The low-level demons wouldn't know the more advanced secrets, such as the attack in 10 days. Which side would the demons attack from? How many groups would they split into? Would they arrange for other powerful demons to sneak into the divinity and secretly demonize humans? What kind of schemes would they have? The low-level demons wouldn't know unless Luli could get close to the demon lords, and two of them happened to be talking. Let's go. After a while, Luli was sure that he couldn't get any more information. He snuck out of the island and went to a relatively large island nearby. There were tens of thousands of demons on this island. There must be some high-level ones. Luli wanted to see if he could get more important information. The island was patrolled by demon warriors. Luli had the cloaking armor, so the low-level demons couldn't see him. He easily entered the island. On this island, he discovered many demon slaves, at least tens of thousands of them. These demon slaves were all squatting or sitting together under a large mountain. Their bodies were covered in black scales, and their eyes glowed red. Their expressions were numb. Even though they were still alive, they were no different from the walking dead. High-level demons are on the mountain. Luli looked up, but didn't dare to go up. The black haze was thick, which meant there were powerful demons up there. If he sneaked up and was seen through, he would be attacked immediately, which would lead to the pursuit of the powerful demons on the Stars and Moons Island. He had the ability to fly, so he wasn't afraid of the 8 and 10-winged demons. However, he didn't want to attract the attention of the powerful demons yet. He was in the form of a demon slave. If he didn't expose himself, he might be able to use it as a surprise weapon in the future. For example, he could sneak up on the powerful demons and assassinate them. I can blend in with the demon slaves and follow the demon slave army. This way, I will have a chance to get more information. Luli suddenly had an idea. The Asmodean slaves did not have a mind of their own, so they would not mind Luli. There were tens of thousands of Asmodean slaves here. Luli also found dozens of mighty warriors and 3 super mighty warriors from the divinity. Therefore, he should not attract the attention of the demons if he lurked inside. 10 days later, the devil army would set off for the immortal realm, and the devil slave army would definitely be mobilized to serve as the vanguard to sacrifice their lives and wear down the human army. Therefore, he would be lurking within the demon slave army and advancing with the demon army. This way, he would have the opportunity to obtain some confidential information. When the time came, he could secretly transmit it to the human side and have them make preparations ahead of time. Perhaps they could deal a heavy blow to the demon army. Let's do that. Luli made up his mind. He quietly hid behind the demon slave and looked around. After confirming that no demons were paying attention, he revealed himself. The sudden appearance of Luli caught the attention of several enchanted slaves in front of him. Those enchanted slaves turned around mechanically. They sensed the demonic chi and energy on Luli. They immediately turned back and continued to sit numbly. All right, Luli took a deep breath and quickly moved to the back of the demon army. He copied them and sat on the ground. His head was still hanging down. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Luli didn't show any emotion on his face, but he was on the alert. When the demons came closer, he would see if they would give him away. Half an hour later, a group of demons passed by, and all the demon slaves immediately moved, kneeling on the ground and prostrating themselves. Kneel. Luli was a man of principle. He would kneel to heaven, earth, and his parents, not to mention the fact that he was kneeling to the enemy, the alien race. However, he was kneeling for the human race, to help them defeat the demon army, and to protect more humans. He made up his mind and knelt on the ground. He was so nervous that he didn't dare to use psychic power. He could only sense the fluctuations in the space around him. If the demons noticed him, he would have to use the butcher's knife. The team of demons took a detour nearby. Some of the demons glanced at the enchanted slaves coldly, but didn't pay much attention. Soon, they went into the distance. Okay, Luli just felt some demonic chi and energy on him. Clearly, some demons had checked him out. He had demonic chi and energy on him, so he didn't attract the demons' attention. The demons left. All the enchanted slaves stood up, squatting or sitting like pigs in a pigsty. None of them could speak. They didn't even seem to know how to sleep. They just squatted or sat numbly. Luli was having a headache waiting like this. But what could he do? Could he just sit here and cultivate? In that case, he would be discovered by the demons. When he cultivated, he would absorb Reiki in heaven and earth. There would be fluctuations in the Reiki around, which could be easily sensed. Learn the rules. Luli thought about it and sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He closed his eyes and tried to learn the rules. He could sense any fluctuations in the space around him, and he could react as soon as possible. He didn't cultivate divine energy, so there was no fluctuation in the Reiki around him. He sat quietly to learn the rules. If there were demons coming, he would kneel on the ground and continue to cultivate after the demons left. His appearance was no different from the enchanted slaves. He had a strong demonic chi and energy on him. As long as he didn't do anything strange, the demons wouldn't be able to notice him. But could the high-level demons see through him? Woo, on the 10th day, Luli was woken up by a strange horn sound. The sound of the horn came from the west. It was distant and deep. The moment the horn sounded, Luli felt the demonic chi and energy inside him were surging. At that moment, all the enchanted slaves moved. They stood in an orderly manner. Many demons on the mountain flew up. An 8-winged demon shouted, "Gather up and go to the Star Island." Whoosh, 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 all the demons on the island swarmed over. The enchanted slaves felt the demonic chi and knelt on the ground. So did Luli. Luli became nervous. There was an 8-winged demon above him, which was like a supreme being in the divinity. Could the demon see through him? Whoosh! What made Luli happy was that the 8-winged demon didn't check all the enchanted slaves. He flew to the distance directly. "Follow him!" A 6-winged demon shouted. All the demons flew up and followed him to the moon and stars. When most of the demons were gone, the remaining team released their demonic chi and energy to the enchanted slaves. All the enchanted slaves stood up and rushed into the sea with the demons, treading on the waves. "Let's go." Luli followed them quickly and sneaked into the team. He followed them to the Star and Moon Island. He was very nervous because he might see the 2 10-winged demons later. This was because he might meet the 2 10-winged demons in a while. If the 2 10-winged demons saw through his identity, they would be able to see through him. He would probably be killed before he could even use the void traversing technique. Chapter 1628. The island of stars and moons was crowded with demons and many demonized slaves. Last time, the humans lost nearly 100 million warriors, including more than 10 million that were demonized. For humans, being demonized was no different from death. Those demonized warriors were counted as dead on the human side. The demonized slaves were gathered together. The demons controlled the demonized slaves by the energy of the demon, not by words. Fortunately, Luli was in the army. He could not understand the demon's orders, but he just had to go with the army. Swarms of Asmodeans were gathering in the ocean. Luli didn't even have to look around. He could tell that there were at least millions of Asmodeans, and more were coming over from all directions. Demons gathered in the air. They were everywhere. Luli could not see the end of them. Nobody could tell how many there were. Luli stood in the ocean, feeling numb. He did not dare to look around, or he would be seen through by the demons. He secretly used the Slayer's move to turn his eyes red, but he would stop as soon as he moved. Otherwise, the demons would sense his murderous intent. If this continued, he would become very tired. But what could he do in such a situation? Demons were everywhere, and he could be spotted easily. Before the 10-winged demon showed up, the army of demonized slaves had been controlled to march toward the divinity. Luli was relieved, but at the same time, he felt it was a shame that he could not get more important information if he could not stay close to the 10-winged demon. The army of demonized slaves was slow. No wonder the army of demonized slaves was asked to move forward. They must have been sent to the front to explore the way. They were still some distance away from the divinity. The army of demonized slaves moved forward mechanically. Behind them was the vanguard of the demons. There were not many of them, only a few million. Luli did not know what was going on. He did not dare to use psychic power. Even if he did, it would be useless. The demons were surging, and Luli felt there was a dark cloud coming. Nobody could tell how many demons there were. Luli's psychic power could not reach that far. One day, 2 days, half a month passed. Finally, the army of demonized slaves stopped. They had arrived at the edge of the divinity. In another half a day, they would arrive at the divinity. They could already see many human scouts. The demon slave army was stationed on a few islands, while the demon slave vanguard army began to fly in all directions. The first reason was to clean up the human scouts, and the second was to gather intelligence. Luli stayed with the army of Asmodean slaves and waited. He glanced at China from time to time, anticipating the arrival of the human army. The vanguard of the evil demons had yet to gain a firm foothold, and the army behind them had yet to arrive. Now was the best time to counterattack. If he were the commander of the human race, he would definitely lead the army to launch a counterattack and eliminate the evil demon's vanguard. This would boost the morale of the human army, and it would also gradually eliminate the evil demon's strength. Unfortunately, there was no movement from the human army. It seemed like the human army had been frightened by the previous battle on the Starry and Moon Island. They did not dare to take any risks and wanted to fight steadily. Half a day later, Luli noticed that there were dark clouds behind him and a strong demonic aura could be felt. The main force of the demons had arrived, and so had the strong ones. Demon scouts spread out in all directions, and the nearby human scouts were either killed or repelled. The nearby sea was covered by dark clouds. The demon army was ready to go, and the dark clouds of war and genocide began to envelop the entire god realm. The situation at the divinity was not good. The defeat at the Starry and Moon Island was a great blow to the human race. The human race was already restless. After the defeat at the Starry and Moon Island, they were in a constant state of anxiety. Day and night, they imagined the demon army slaughtering their way in and wreaking havoc in the divinity. For the people of the divinity, the four supreme forces were the most powerful. If the four supreme forces could stop the demons with so many divinity warriors and the chief of Space-Time Office was defeated and so many supreme warriors were killed, could they still win? The second line of defense had been set up. Formations had been built in many places, but many people had lost hope. They didn't think that the formation could stop the demon army. The demons could control spies to destroy formations at the Starry and Moon Island. They could do the same here. There were so many human warriors. Who could be sure which one was controlled by the demon? The high-level demon controlled the human warriors. He would not let the demon slaves mutate. The demon slaves would look no different from humans, but their souls would be controlled by the demon, similar to the human soul slaves. The eastern part of the divinity was vast. Would the human army disperse or concentrate? If they dispersed, the demon army could concentrate and penetrate like a sharp sword. If they concentrated, the demons could disperse and form thousands of demon armies to invade the divinity world. Once the demon army penetrated the divinity world, how many people in the divinity world would be demonized? Moreover, even if they could defend the eastern part of the divinity world and the southern part, could they defend the northern part? It was impossible to rely on defense. Even ordinary humans could think of this. How could the four supreme commanders not? In the eastern part of the divinity world, the overlords of the four supreme forces gathered in Tianyuan City. There were also some supreme warriors in the castle. Everyone gathered together to discuss the war. More than 100 people were seated in the hall. They were all supreme warriors of the divinity world. After the Starry and Moon Island was conquered, more supreme warriors came out. Many of them were experts that were not recorded in the god roll. They had no choice but to come out. If the divinity world was destroyed, could they still live in seclusion? Could their clans and sects survive? 143 supreme warriors of the divinity world. This was the strongest force in the divinity world. If these 143 people were to walk out to the outside world, it would definitely cause countless people to be shocked. Many of the people here were once renowned experts in their own right or famous throughout the world. This castle was the meeting hall of a prefecture lord's clan. There were 6 seats in the front, but only 4 of them were occupied. On the far left was a lady with an elegant temperament. She was the sect lord of the craftsman's sect, Luo Guan. Luo Huang was her adopted granddaughter. She was the one who changed the name of Luo Huang. In the second row was a middle-aged man with a pale face and a somewhat cold temperament. He was the prefecture lord of the Space-Time Mansion, Zhuo Qilu. The deputy prefecture lord of Space-Time Mansion, Zhuo Qiurong, was from the same clan as him. In the second row was an old man in a Taoist robe. He had an amiable face and looked like a great expert. He was the pavilion lord of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. His Taoist title was Layman Heaven Seeker. The last person looked very young. He only had the appearance of a middle-aged man. He had an elegant temperament and a young life aura. He didn't look like an expert who had been famous for thousands of years. He was the palace lord of the Hall of Life and Death, Yinyu. Prefecture Lord Zhuo. At this moment, an expert in the hall stood up. He cupped his hands towards Zhuo Qilu and said, "The 2 lords still haven't replied?" As soon as he said this, many people in the hall subconsciously looked at the 2 empty chairs at the center of the hall. Their eyes dimmed. These 2 chairs had been left for the first and second heaven-defying experts of the god ranking. The prefecture lord had long since sent people to invite them. Unfortunately, they hadn't shown up yet. Zhuo Qilu smiled bitterly and said, "Let's not wait for them. Let's start discussing business. The Abyss Devil Army has already set up camp at Gold Sun Island in the east. They could attack the Divinity World at any moment. I suggest we attack instead of defend. We should change the battlefield to the sea. What do you all think?" Chapter 16:29. In fact, many people had thought of attacking instead of defending. After all, if the battlefield was in the divine realm, many humans would be demonized. These devil slaves would wreak havoc everywhere and cause more humans to be demonized. Eventually, the snowball effect would increase, and the situation would be out of control. The most terrifying thing about the devils was their devil aura. Without the devil aura, the humans would not be afraid at all. The devil aura would increase the number of the devil army, and the war would become more and more difficult. It had been like this in several wars with the devils in history. Fortunately, there were peerless martial experts of the human race who appeared every time and killed the devil commander, suppressed the devil army, and drove the devil army back to the devil realm. The human race now had 2 peerless martial experts. They were the first and second on the god list. The martial experts present might have some objections to some of the rankings. For example, they were dissatisfied with their own ranking and thought that the supreme martial artists in the divine realm were not their match. However, all the supreme martial artists in the divine realm were convinced by the top 2 on the god list, including the top 10 martial experts. They were convinced by these 2 martial experts. Unfortunately, these 2 martial experts had not appeared yet. Perhaps they had not been contacted, or they were no longer in the divine realm. I think it's better to be more conservative. The devil aura in the devil camp is too thick. Once we attack, many soldiers will be demonized instantly. That will be sending devil slaves to the devils. The devils are not so stupid to split up their army and attack the devil camp directly. Apart from suffering heavy casualties, there is no meaning. Then what do you think? Are we going to wait for the devils to attack like idiots? What if the formation is broken again? What if they use the same trick again? Our army will be in chaos, and the devil army will march straight in. The consequences will be unimaginable. I think we should retreat for the sake of advancing. We will retreat for millions of miles and let the devil army enter the divine realm. We will strengthen the defense and clear the field. When they come ashore, we will split up and attack, diverting the devil army. We will rely on the absolute number of human soldiers to nibble away at them bit by bit. What a joke. What if they don't split up after entering the divine realm? They will march straight into the hinterland of the divine realm. They will demonize the people of the divine realm. When the time comes, there will be more and more soldiers. Who can suppress them? It's better to march straight in. If they go deep into our hinterland, they will be surrounded by enemies everywhere. It will be easier for us to nibble away at them. Bullshit. If the devil army marched straight in, how many people of the divine realm would suffer? How many people would die? Don't tell me those human lives are nothing in your eyes. There will always be sacrifices in this kind of war. It's inevitable that some ordinary gods will die. Moreover, the low-level demon slaves won't pose too much of a threat to us. The more demon slaves there are, the more demons they will control, and it will be easier for us to eliminate them one by one. I think we should. The hall was in an uproar. Many people expressed their opinions. In fact, there had been several disputes before. Before the Abyss Devil Army had even arrived at Gold Sun Island, there had been people who had suggested attacking instead of defending. However, the debate had never stopped, which was why the war had dragged on until now. In the end, the human race still didn't have a peerless warrior or a peerless sage who could absolutely suppress all the heroes and lead tens of thousands of armies. None of the leaders of the 4 transcendent god organizations could control the situation. All 4 of them had different thoughts, so how could they have the same thought? Report. At this moment, a great expert of the divine realm walked in from outside, knelt on one knee, and reported, "My lords, the scouts in the north have reported that the 9 great divine kings have led experts to battle. They have used a special teleportation formation to go to Yellow Sun Island, north of Gold Sun Island. The 9 great divine kings have sent word that they wish to join forces with us to attack the devil army." And many people in the hall revealed shocked expressions. They were still arguing here, and Yuan Pass had already sent troops and were preparing to attack the devil army? Zhuoqiu Lu immediately asked, "How many people have Yuan Pass mobilized? Who is the leader of the 9 great divine kings?" The scout replied, "Not many have come, only 1,000 people. However, the weakest is a super great expert of the divine realm. The leader seems to be Prince Yan Ling Qinyan, because she is standing in the center, and she is the one who passed the message." Prince Yan? Lamia, the pavilion lord of Heavenly Mystery Pavilion. Layman Sun's eyes flashed as he nodded slightly and said, 100 years ago, this old man said that this person is not an ordinary person. Now he can actually suppress the other 8 great divine kings. Palace Lord of Life and Death Yin Yu stood up and said, "The 9 great divine kings have all moved out. If we still don't act, Yuan Pass will look down on the divine realm. Is there anyone who is willing to go with me to battle?" The Palace Lord of Space-Time Office immediately stood up and said, "Palace Lord Yin, let's go together. Last time, we were defeated by the 10-winged demon. I must take revenge." "All right, we will go together." Yin Yu nodded and then cupped her hands at Layman Sun and Sect Lord of Craftsman's Sect, Luo Guan. "I will have to trouble the 2 of you to watch over here. If the situation at the front is not stable, please lead the troops to receive us." Luo Guan and Layman Sun nodded slightly. Many divine realm supremes in the hall immediately stepped out and expressed their willingness to go, with Zhuoqiu Lu and Yin Yu to kill their way into the devil camp. Yin Yu and Zhuoqiu Lu looked around and saw that there were 40 to 50 divine realm supremes who were willing to go to battle. With so many experts, even if they were defeated, it would not be as tragic as Star and Moon Island. Zhuoqiu Lu and the others discussed for a while, and then sent people to contact the 9 great divine kings to make an agreement. At the same time, they began to mobilize their troops. This time, they did not mobilize a lot of troops, only 1 million, and they were divided into 100 groups. The strategy this time was very clear. The main force was the experts. These 1 million troops were to confuse the evil demon army. They mainly relied on the experts to kill the evil demons and eat away at the evil demon army. This way, they could advance and retreat at will. The experts were very fast. If they escaped back to the divine realm, they could be received at any time. It was absolutely safe. The human army was holding back their anger. Many of the experts had not been scared out of their wits. After hearing that they were going to battle, countless divine realm super experts volunteered. Zhuoqiu Lu and the others only chose 1,000 people. The The more people there were, the less mobile they could be. One day later, the 1 million human army divided into 100 groups and shot towards Gold Sun Island like a sharp arrow. Although there were only 1 million troops, because they were separated, it looked like the human army was everywhere. The evil demons had sent out many scouts. When the 100 evil demon scouts moved out, they either immediately retreated or were killed. Many of the retreating scouts reported back, and the evil demon camp was in an uproar. The humans actually dared to take the initiative to attack. Also, the human army was everywhere. Could it be that the human army had come out in full strength to fight the evil demon army on Gold Sun Island? The two commanders of the evil demon army were very calm. They did not pass down any orders. They only sent out more scouts and had all the evil demon army and devil slave armies gather towards Gold Sun Island. Chapter 16:30. Now that the demon army had chosen to retreat, the humans immediately became somewhat passive. The 1 million-strong army split into 100 groups and surrounded Gold Sun Island. However, none of them dared to attack. Since the Abyss Devils were all gathered together, Gold Sun Island was shrouded in black clouds. If they got too close, they could easily be demonized. If it didn't get close, long-range attacks wouldn't have much of an effect. Chuyin and the others were all together, lurking in the distance. Several hundred people from a 9 Great Divine King side were also lying in ambush nearby, but none of them moved. The demon camp was like a bottomless abyss. Many people felt that if they entered, they would be devoured and killed. These two demon commanders are experts. Luli was at the seaside next to Gold Sun Island. There were demon slaves all around him, and the sky was filled with demons. Amidst the rolling black clouds, pairs of blood-red eyes constantly emitted red light. It was a scene that made one's heart palpitate. At the same time, Luli could also sense the presence of many powerful demons. He could also faintly sense 2 powerful presences, which should be the 2 10-winged demons. The devil camp was filled with a thick devil chi. If the human experts outside wanted to kill the devils, they would have to rush into the camp. If a human were to rush into the demonic aura, even if they could resist it, their battle prowess would be greatly reduced. The human race had built a great formation to suppress the demons, and the demonic aura here was a natural formation that could suppress the human race's combat power. With the demonic aura of a powerful demon shrouding them, the battle prowess of a low-level demon would probably also increase, right? Time passed bit by bit. A day had passed, and the humans could no longer hold themselves back. Zhuqilu began to order the army to attack. However, the attack was not a battle to the death. It was just a way to enrage the fiend demon army, so that they would send troops to hunt them down. The million-strong army attacked at the same time, slowly advancing towards the demon camp. When they arrived outside the territory with the demon aura, they stopped and released long-range attacks. The area covered by the demonic aura was very wide, and it was at least 1,000 miles away from the demonic army. An ordinary god's attack would not be able to cause much damage within 1,000 miles. Boom, boom, boom. An army of 1 million soldiers attacked at the same time. The scene looked grand, but it was a pity that they couldn't cause much damage. Although there were some attacks that could disperse the demonic aura, it quickly spread over. The demons were very disciplined. If the demon commander did not give the order, not a single demon would move. Although the auras of the evil demons had become violent, they showed no signs of moving. Boom, boom, boom. The human army bombarded the demons for almost an hour, but there was still no movement from the demons. They did injure some demons, but it was meaningless. Attack. Left with no other choice, Zhuqilu gave the order to attack. The 1 million-strong army charged into the fiend camp, unleashing long-range attacks along the way, bombarding the fiends in midair and the fiend slaves below. The demon army did not move, and many demons have been killed. However, the demon commander did not give the order, so none of the demons dared to move. Woo-woo, when the human army was only 150 kilometers away from the Abyss Devils, a horn finally sounded from within Gold Sun Island. Then, countless abyss devils moved, flapping their enormous wings and covering the sky as they charged towards the human army of 1,000,000. Retreat. The army of 1,000,000 soldiers was bait to lure the fiend demon army out, so that the human experts outside could slaughter the fiend demon army and devour them one by one. The army retreated, but some of the deities had already been invaded by the demonic aura. Their eyes started to turn red, and their speed became slower. Soon, the demons behind them caught up. Bang, bang, bang. Attacks condensed from the demonic aura came crashing down. The warriors who were invaded by the demonic aura could not hold on any longer. Their bodies fell into the sea, and what awaited them was to become fiend slaves and sink into oblivion. Fortunately, many of the soldiers retreated in time, so most of them managed to escape. The fiend demon army madly chased after them. At least 10,000,000 fiends had been deployed. Good. What Xiaolu and the others were invigorated and immediately retreated quietly. They prepared to leave the camp and gradually slaughter these demons. If they killed all 10,000,000 fiends, it would be a great blow to the morale and strength of the demons. On the other side, the 9 godly kings also began to retreat. However, a hint of hesitation flashed in Ling Qingyin's eyes. This was because the army that the demons had sent out this time did not have any strong experts. They were all low-level demons, and they only saw a few demon lords. However, the fiend demon army had already swept over, so they could only retreat. According to the original plan, they would leave the fiend camp and kill these 10,000,000 low-level demons first. Something's wrong. Luli also felt that something was wrong. There were many demons, but he felt that there were no more than 10 demon lords. There were also very few 6-winged demons. Was the fiend demon commander sending the fiend demon army to their deaths for nothing? According to the situation at Stars and Moons Island, the fiend demon commander was not stupid. They were also very cunning and ruthless. They would not make such a low-level mistake. If so, they must have other intentions. Luli's face was expressionless. His eyes glowed red, as if he had done nothing. In fact, he had been sensing the fluctuations of space around him. He understood the law of space and was particularly sensitive to spatial fluctuations. Buzzing, suddenly, the space in Gold Sun Island began to fluctuate slightly. It wasn't 2 spatial fluctuations, but 4. Before Lu Li could react, he noticed that the 4 spatial fluctuations passed over his head. At this moment, he also felt a very strong demonic aura. 10-winged demons, 4. Lu Li's eyes suddenly narrowed. At this moment, he suddenly understood everything. The humans had used bait to lure the fiend demon army into action. The fiend demon commander sent out 10,000,000 demons, and these 10,000,000 demons were also bait. Beat them at their own game. The devil commander also used a plan to lure the enemy. They also threw out bait. This bait was very big, so big that the human experts couldn't resist it at all. In Star Island, there was only one 10-winged demon. When Lu Li snuck in, there were only 2 10-winged demons. Now, there were 4 10-winged demons. These 4 10-winged demons were all proficient in concealment skills. They were mixed in with the fiend demon army and launched a sneak attack on the human powerhouses. By then, not even the leaders of the 4 super forces would be able to stop them. The human army was planning to devour the fiend demon army, but the fiend demon commander was planning to kill or demonize the human powerhouses one by one. Once the human powerhouses were killed or demonized, not even billions of the human army could do anything. Cruel, vicious. Lu Li finally understood that the word vicious had to be understood separately. The fiend demon commander was cruel to his own people and cruel to the enemy. He was willing to send out 10,000,000 demons just to kill some human powerhouses. What should I do? Lu Li hesitated. At his current speed, it was already too late to notify the human army. Also, he was alone. Could he pass through the interception of the fiend demon army, get close to the human powerhouses, and give them a warning? Attack the camp. After thinking for a few breaths, Lu Li decided to take a risk. He was going to start a massacre on Gold Sun Island. This way, the fiend demon camp would be in chaos. This might make the four fiend demon commanders wary and give the human powerhouses a warning. P.S. There is one more chapter. You can update it before 7:30. Chapter 16:31. Boom, boom, boom. Battles broke out on the east and north sides of Gold Sun Island. The 1,000,000 warriors that escaped stopped and started to fight back. At the same time, Ling Qingyin, Zhuqiu Lu, and Yin Yu took actions as well. With so many powerful warriors, the demons suffered heavy losses in an instant. For example, Lu Li went to kill a group of average immortals. With Lu Li's abilities, he could kill thousands with one space twist. Zhuqiu Lu had more than 50 divinity supremes. With so many powerful warriors, they killed more than 100,000 demons in an instant. The 9 divinity supremes were not the only ones here. Yu Qingtian, the master of the dominating heavens office, was here as well. There were more than 30 of them in total. As the two sides moved, the demons were slaughtered. If they had the time for one incense stick to burn, it wouldn't be difficult for them to kill tens of millions of demons. Ling Qingyin and Yin Yu both felt something was wrong. But the bait that the demons had thrown out was too great. How could they leave when so many demons were at their mercy? That being said, many divinity supremes were still on guard. They kept an eye on the demon camp to see if there would be powerful demons coming to help. At the same time, Zhuqiu Lu sent warriors to scout in case the demon army diverted their attention to attack the divinity. Swish! Right at that moment, a ray of sword light suddenly came from the demon camp. Black air was billowing over there. The ray of sword light came from the horizon, so it was very dazzling. Most importantly, the saber light twisted twice in mid-air, making people feel particularly awkward and involuntarily attracted their gazes. Ghost King's cut. Ling Qingyin, Zhuqiu Lu, and Yin Yu came to their senses. They could tell the strange attack pattern of Ghost King's cut. Ghost King was dead. The only one in the world that knew Ghost King's cut was Lu Li. Lu Li was here, and he was attacking the demon camp? Everyone was stunned for a moment. Then, many people had the same thought. Was Lu Li out his mind? There were many demon lords and 10-winged demons in the demon camp. The 10-winged demon was so powerful that it could even defeat the master of space-time office. Had Lu Li become one of the top 3 on the list in a short time? Swish, swish, on the Gold Sun Island side, a mountain rose up and grew. Soon, it was more than 30 miles tall. This time, it was even more conspicuous. Although the crowd was quite far away, almost everyone could see it clearly. All right, on the divinity's side, a supreme warrior from the divinity was excited. He was itching to try. Let's break in and kill our way into the demon's camp. Then, we will work with Lu Li to kill the 10-winged demon. Something's wrong. The Hall Master of the Hall of Life and Death, Yin Yu, suddenly yelled, "Everyone, retreat to the God world immediately. Retreat." On the other side, Ling Qingyin had figured it out. She waved her hand and retreated. The Pan King and the other God Kings were slightly stunned, but they still followed suit and shot towards the north. The remaining people naturally did not dare to continue fighting and quickly retreated. King Pan's face was very dignified. One look would make people want to worship him. He flew at high speed. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Prince Yin, what did you see? I'm not too sure about the specifics." Ling Qingyin looked back at the other immortal masters and explained, "But Lu Li is not a lunatic. He will not court death. He is doing this for one purpose, to give us a warning. Also, it means that there must be no more 10-winged demon in the camp, or else he would not attack. He will not court death. That is to say, the 10-winged demon is out and ready to ambush us." The 10-winged demon is ambushing us? A supreme warrior from the divinity asked in confusion. There are so many of us. Even if a 10-winged demon were to ambush us, it would not end well, right? So, Ling Qingyin forced a smile. There must be more than one 10-winged demon. Maybe there are 2, or even 3 or 4. Otherwise, Lu Li would not take the risk to warn us. 3 or 4. The powerful warriors of the Yuyan land looked at each other, speechless. The 9 immortal masters were all powerful. Back at the Yuyan land, they could fight against the 4 legendary forces. But that was in the Yuyan land, where they could make use of the natural formations. Away from the Yuyan land, their abilities would be greatly weakened. The 9 immortal masters should be weaker than the master of the craftsman's sect. They ranked around 10th to 20th on the list. Boom! An explosion suddenly came from east. Then, the bodies of the 3 divinity masters exploded. Zhuoqiu Lu and the others suddenly turned around. When they saw the 3 10-winged demons, their expressions changed drastically. Life and Death Talisman. Yin Yu's eyes shone brightly. Without any hesitation, he immediately released his strongest attack. He spat out a mouthful of blood and suddenly wrote something in the air. Golden characters that exuded a divine aura appeared and condensed into a net in midair, flying towards the 3 10-winged demons at lightning speed. Yin Yu roared, "Go quickly!" Void formation. The master of the space-time office did not leave. He also drew a formation in the void. Soon, a black door appeared. Zhuoqiu Lu shouted, "Go in!" The remaining divinity masters rushed into the door like frightened birds. Zhuoqiu Lu had already experienced the power of the 10-winged demons. The sudden explosion of the 3 supreme beings from the deity world proved how terrifying these 3 10-winged demons were. Bang! The net of life and death talisman that Yin Yu set up was soon broken. Fortunately, everyone rushed into the black door. Yin Yu followed them in. The black door suddenly exploded. "Go back!" A 10-winged demon's eyes flashed with rage. Originally, the plan had been flawless. If not for something happening at the demon camp, which alerted them in advance, they would not have been able to escape. They were confident that they could at least kill Zhuoqiu Lu and Yin Yu. By then, the divinity realm would suffer a heavy blow. One of the 10-winged demons had already gone back. The 3 10-winged demons were not at ease and quickly flew in that direction. Over at the demon camp, a sacred mountain came crashing down with a roar and violent spatial ripples. If this sacred mountain came crashing down, at least millions of demons would be crushed to death. Swish, swish, however, at this moment, a strong demonic aura flew over. That demonic aura flew over to Gold Sun Island. Then, the demonic aura condensed into a black giant that stood on Gold Sun Island and reached towards the sacred mountain. It actually managed to resist the pressure of the sacred mountain, slowing it down a bit. Woo woo! At the same time, a horn sounded. The demons on the island quickly retreated, retreating away from Gold Sun Island. The demon lords that were attacking Lu Li also retreated. Good. Lu Li was under a lot of pressure and felt that he could be killed at any moment. Seeing this, he was overjoyed and immediately drew a formation in the air. A small golden door appeared. He didn't even have time to put away the small golden mountain. He flew into the small door. Bang! A ray of black air shot toward the small golden door. Before the golden door could disappear, it was smashed into pieces by the black air. Whoosh! A 10-winged abyss devil's body flashed and appeared on Gold Sun Island. He raised a hand and knocked away the golden mountain that was still pressing down. Then he roared in fury. Investigate! Investigate! We must find out who this human is. I want him dead. I want to extract his soul and suppress it onto the demon mountain for all eternity. P.S. Chapter 5 here. Chapter 1632. Lu Li didn't actually kill many demons. If they were pressed down by the mountain, there might be many more that would die a violent death. But in the end, the 10-winged demon stopped the mountain. Therefore, Lu Li only used Ghost Slash and killed hundreds of demons. Then he used Space Twist twice and killed thousands of low-level demons. The reason why the 10-winged demon was so angry was that Lu Li had snuck into the Gold Sun Island without anyone noticing and ruined their plan to assassinate the most powerful human warriors. Another reason was that Lu Li had escaped. This was a great humiliation. If it were the master of space-time office who went to the realm of demons and was provoked by a weak demon, the master of space-time office would be furious as well. He would also ask the human warriors to find out who the demon was and then cut him into pieces. Whoosh! The mountain shrank after it was smashed away. Then it tried to fly away. Even though Lu had flown away, the mountain had a spirit. Yet Ao would not let the mountain fall into the hands of the demons. He would find a way to escape. From a distance came a heavy snort. Then, a huge black hand came out from the black energy of the demon and reached toward the mountain. The divine mountain was originally flying at high speed, but after being grabbed by the large hand, it was immediately unable to move. Moreover, it was being pulled downwards. Whoosh! A sharp claw reached out and firmly grasped the divine mountain. A 10-winged demon swept a few glances at it and nodded slightly. This treasure is not bad. After I refine it, I'll use it to suppress the humans. The other 2 10-winged devils looked around and nodded, saying, the divine world is a vast land with abundant resources. There are many natural treasures here. There's even a grand spirit treasure here. If this hill continues to grow, it will become a grand spirit treasure. Yes, another relatively thin and small 10-winged demon sighed and said, our demon world is too barren. We demons are natural warriors. If we can occupy the divine world, the demon race will become the rulers of the myriad worlds. So we absolutely cannot fail this time. Such a shame. The 10-winged demon holding the mountain sighed. We had a chance to kill the master of space-time office and the master of the Hall of Vitality, but that human ruined it. How can this despicable human sneak in? We don't know anything. The divinity is full of talents. Originally, we were all hidden, but this time, we've all been exposed. A 10-winged demon said with some annoyance. We hid for so long just to have a surprise attack, but we didn't expect to fail at the last moment. Let's attack. The 10-winged demon holding the golden divine mountain said, wait for me to refine this mountain. Then we'll start attacking. We'll attack from both fronts, the front and the back of the battlefield at the same time. No matter which battlefield we win, the final victory will belong to us. Yes, Emperor Yoshing. The other 3 10-winged fiends bowed and accepted the order. It seemed that this 10-winged fiend was the ruler of the fiend world, the highest commander of the fiend world. Buzz, in the middle of Tianyuan City, a black gate suddenly appeared. Then, countless figures flew out from the gate. The city was immediately in an uproar. After all, everyone who came out was a powerful expert, and the weakest of them was a super almighty expert from the god world. There were dozens of paragons, and all of them were famous experts in the god world. Swish, swish, swish. One person rushed out, and all of them looked fearful. Some of the super almighty experts of the god world even looked frightened. These big shots usually didn't even flinch. Now that they looked like this, it caused a lot of discussion in the city. When Zhuqiu and Yinyu rushed out, the atmosphere in the city reached its peak. These 2 were the overlords of the 4 super forces, the top figures of the god world. Many people knelt down. After Zhuqiu and Yinyu came out, they didn't have time to deal with the martial artists in the city. Yinyu waved her hand and said, you guys can go now. All the paragons of the god world, go to the castle to discuss. Swish, swish. After Zhuqiu and Yinyu left, the remaining super almighty experts of the god world flew down. More super almighty experts came up to ask about the situation. Those people were still unsettled. Since Zhuqiu and Yinyu didn't say anything, they all told them what had happened. The news spread immediately. In just an hour, almost all the almighty experts of the god world in the city knew about it. When Zhuqiu tried to block the news, it was too late. 1 million soldiers as bait. All the bait were taken. None of them came back. 3 supreme warriors of the divinity were killed. If it were not for Lu Li's warning, Zhuqiu and Yinyu might not have made it back. There was not 1 10-winged demon, but 4. This was the most shocking news. It disturbed the morale of the allied forces of the human race. The 10-winged demon was at the peak of the realm of demons. Its combat ability could be compared to the top 3 on the list. If the number 1 and number 2 on the list did not show up, who in the divinity could compete with them? The supreme warriors of the divinity in the castle were terrified as well. They were all powerful warriors, but they could feel fear as well. They were not afraid of their own deaths. They were afraid of the destruction of their families. Every supreme warrior of the divinity could live for a long time. Because of their protection, their families would grow stronger and have more and more people. Those were family ties that could not be abandoned. Those were their children and grandchildren. They had lived long enough. It didn't matter if they died. But if their families were destroyed, all the people in their families would be killed and turned into demon slaves. Nobody dared to imagine that. This time they were really scared. There were 4 10-winged demons. Yin Yu, the strongest among them, had gone to fight. If it were not for Lu Li's warning, she might not have made it back. If so, could they stop the invasion of demons? We must ask Lord Ji and Lord Xianyuan for help. Cabinet Master of Mystery sighed. If none of them come out, the divinity will be in danger. I will go and ask them myself. Luo Guan, Yin Yu, and Zhuo Qilu nodded. One of the supreme warriors of the divinity said with confusion, "My lords, don't the 4 forces all have powerful trump cards? Why don't you use them now that we are facing a life and death crisis?" Trump cards? That's right. Many people's eyes glowed. The 4 forces all had trump cards. Once their fundamental interests were threatened, they could use them. How powerful was the Slayer? He was destroyed after Space-Time Office used their trump cards. If the 4 forces all used their trump cards, they might not be able to suppress the demons easily. But at least there was hope. Ha. Luo Guan and the others looked at each other. Luo Guan smiled bitterly. It's not that we don't want to move. We can't. Why is that so? One of the supreme warriors of the divinity asked in surprise. Some people were deep in thought. Some were confused. Because the demons have trump cards too. Zhuo Qilu sighed. Their trump cards are similar to ours. We can only rely on ourselves to fight the demons. Nobody can use their trump cards, and nobody can. We can only put our hopes on Lord Ji and Lord Xianyuan. Chapter 1633. The names of Lord Ji and Lord Xianyuan were not known to outsiders. Even the people present did not know their real names. The Master of Cabinet of Mystery got up and entered the teleportation altar of Space-Time Office. The remaining people began to make various arrangements. Countless scouts were mobilized to secretly monitor the demon army. At the same time, they were preparing for war, ready to welcome the attack of the demon army. The strategy of using offense as defense had failed. Although some demons were killed, the humans had lost millions of soldiers and 3 supreme warriors from the divinity. It was a great loss. Yin Yu and the others did not dare to go out against the 4 10-winged demons. Otherwise, they would be courting death. But was it really useful to stay here? Are you sure these formations won't be destroyed? Once the array was destroyed, who could stop those 4 4-winged demons? Everyone's hearts were in a mess. Although the 4 supreme forces were usually high and mighty, once they encountered enemies who were stronger than them, they would be helpless and panic. The commanders were in a mess, and the soldiers outside were even more anxious. Rumors were spreading. Every time there was a disaster, there would be all kinds of rumors. This was human nature. However, one person was mentioned again and again as if he had become the hope of the human race. Lu Li. When the demons invaded, Lu Li fought them alone, delaying the invasion and giving the humans time to prepare and buffer. This time, he took the risk to attack the demon camp and rescued Yin Yu, Zhuo Qilu, and the others, repaying evil with good. The 4 supreme forces had once issued a joint notice, offering a bounty on Lu Li's head and sending countless people to hunt him down. What was worse was that the craftsman sect sent Luo Yi to the mortal world to kill Lu Li's people. Now, facing the righteousness of the human race, Lu Li did not take the opportunity to take revenge. Instead, he helped his enemies. What kind of broad-mindedness, boldness, and heroism was this? Another thing was that Lu Li had quietly killed his way into the demon camp. Although the 4 10-winged demons had come out, there were many 8-winged demon lords in the demon camp. What did this mean? It meant that Lu Li's combat strength was rising. He had reached the point where he could easily defeat the 8-winged demons. It meant that his combat strength had surpassed the average supreme warriors in the divinity. How long had it been? Lu Li's combat strength had increased so quickly. It might not be long before he could defeat the 10-winged demons. Many people would always hope for a hero to help them do things that they couldn't do themselves. Whenever they were helpless and terrified, they would always hope for an unparalleled martial expert to lead them to victory and save the world. Even though it sounded ridiculous, more and more people believed it. They were placing their hopes on Lu Li. To place their hopes on a young man who had ascended less than 100 years ago, unbeknownst to them, the young man they had pinned their hopes on was currently floating in the air, drenched in blood. Not only was his saint-grade battle armor shredded, even the black scales on the surface of his skin had been crushed. Lu Li tumbled around in the air and cried out in pain. Blood sprayed out in the air. It was a ghastly sight. When Lu Li was flying across the void, the golden door was smashed by the 10-winged demon. The void was destroyed by force. Lu Li was sucked into the void as well. He was injured by the twisting force of space. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li had a holy grade armor, if it were not for his strong body, if it were not for the fact that he could resolve some of the twisting forces in space, he would have died in an instant. Not only was he badly injured, but more than half of his bones were broken and his internal organs were crushed. No matter how strong Lu Li was, he could not help but cry out in pain. More importantly, his soul was injured as well. The horrifying, twisting force of space had an effect on his soul. His soul was twisted, which was why he was in so much pain. Lu Li finally stopped howling after an hour. He looked at his broken Saint Grade armor and felt it was a pity. Saint Grade relic was hard to come by. Not even supreme warriors in the divinity could have one. But on second thought, if it were not for the Saint Grade relic, he would have been dead. Lu Li took out some healing pellets and soul-nurturing pellets. He didn't move. He floated in the air and let his body recover automatically. Many of his meridians had been destroyed, so he couldn't even circulate his energy to heal himself. He could not even move a finger. He could not even sit up. Whoosh, Lu Li floated in the air for several hours. He saw a ray of light in the distance. He opened his eyes all of a sudden. His eyes were filled with surprise. That ray of light happened to be coming toward him. This was the turbulence of time or reverse current. There was not much danger in either. At the very worst, there might be worms of the void. Lu Li was not afraid of worms of the void anymore. What he was afraid of was he could not move. If he was taken into a black hole by the turbulence of time, then that would be troublesome. It would be fine if time flowed slowly in a black hole. But if one day and there meant 10,000 years in the outside world. However, he was so badly injured that he could not even move. The turbulence of time and space was so fast that he was enveloped in it and sent flying into the distance. I hope I did not end up in a black hole. Lu Li endured the pain and began to cultivate, trying to recover as soon as possible so that he could escape from the turbulence of time and space. The turbulence of time and space was so fast that Lu Li could not tell how far he had traveled in an instant. Lu Li took several healing pellets and tried to heal himself at the same time. He tried to recover by more than half in a day. In this way, it would not be difficult for him to fly out from the turbulence of time and space. In the turbulence of time and space, time was slowed down by 10,000 times. Lu Li had to use the fundamental principle of time to get out. At the moment, many of his energy channels were destroyed. He could not use the fundamental principle of time completely. Whoosh, the turbulence of time and space whooshed across the sky like a dazzling shooting star. The direction of the turbulence of time and space did not change, but would drift from side to side. It was like a playful child. Half a day. Lu Li's wounds had recovered a bit. At least, he was no longer bleeding. Many wounds were healing as well. His internal organs were growing back, and some broken bones were growing back. I am lucky. Lu Li was relieved that he did not fall into the black hole after such a long time. He had seen people fly into black holes in the turbulence of time and space. As long as they did not fall into the black hole, everything else would be fine. 2 hours, 4 hours. Lu Li's wounds were more than half healed. He took a deep breath. His hands glowed as he was about to use the fundamental principle of time and space to fly out from the turbulence of time and space. What? What is that? All of a sudden, Luli turned around and looked forward. His eyes were filled with astonishment. He saw a ball of light in front of him. At the moment, the turbulence of time and space was moving toward that ball of light. They were about to collide. Run! Luli did not know what that ball of light was. Out of instinct, he sensed danger. He must get out from the turbulence of time and space at once. Unfortunately, the turbulence of time and space was fast. Chapter 16:34. He is dead. The space-time turbulence was so fast that it would collide with something else. Could Luli survive in the turbulence? That mass of light was too bright. Out of instinct, Luli closed his eyes and resigned himself to fate. What happened next shocked Luli. The space-time turbulence flew into that mass of light. There was no explosion or anything wrong. Luli felt the mass of light was like a black hole in space and time. He was moving in it. What is this? Luli could not open his eyes. He used psychic power to check. He felt he was moving in a tunnel, surrounded by dazzling light. Apart from the light, he could sense nothing else. Buzzing, fortunately, he did not fly for long. In the time for a few breaths, Luli felt the white light was gone. The scene in front of him had changed. He opened his eyes at once and was taken aback. He saw a desolate land in the distance. The land was in ruins, huge tombstones that were cut off, palaces that had collapsed, skeletons all over the ground, flagstones soaked in blood, mountains that were split open, rivers that had been diverted, cracked valleys, boiling lava, ruins of cities. Everything in front of Luli seemed to be a land that had been destroyed. Bones were everywhere. The atmosphere was desolate and miserable. Even the air was filled with the smell of decay. The turbulence of time and space carried Luli all the way down. Luli had been looking down at the ground. Everything was the same. In the time for a few breaths, Luli had lost count of how many skeletons he had seen, how many cities had been turned into ruins, and how many beautiful sceneries had been destroyed. Where is this? What happened here? Luli had some ideas. He looked down at the many cities. This place used to be prosperous and powerful. Some of the cities were even larger than the major cities in the divinity. In other words, this place used to be more prosperous than the divinity. Many skeletons were still glowing in a golden light. The powerful warriors here used to be powerful. Some of them might even be more powerful than the supreme warriors in the divinity. If so, why would this place be destroyed? Who was it that slaughtered all the living beings here? What kind of earth-shattering event had happened here? The space-time turbulence was fast. Luli wanted to go down and have a look, but there were ruins everywhere. What there was danger. Furthermore, he had suddenly entered this place. How was he going to return? It was better for him to stay in the space-time turbulence. Perhaps he could follow the turbulence and fly out of the void? What's that? All of a sudden, Luli was attracted by something in front of him. It was a huge altar. The altar was 1,000 miles wide, and it was completely made of black stones. There were many skeletons outside the altar, but there was not a single skeleton inside the altar. There were 12 totem pillars in the middle of the altar, but most of them had been chopped off, leaving only one totem pillar intact. Luli stared at the totem pole. He saw many mysterious runes and some words carved on it. The words were strange. Luli could not understand them at all. He had to memorize all the words in an instant. No, those runes. Luli memorized all the words. When he looked at the runes, he found some problems. The arrangement of those runes seemed to contain some kind of law. There was an inexplicable feeling to it. Whoosh! Unfortunately, the space-time turbulence was so fast that Luli didn't even have the time to take a closer look before it flew away. Those runes must contain some kind of fundamental principle. Luli felt it was a pity. Give him more time. He might be able to learn something from the totem pillars. Before he could take a closer look, the space-time turbulence had flown away. The two mountains. Soon, Luli's attention was attracted by the two strange mountains in front of him. The two mountains were golden in color as if they were made of gold. The two mountains were side by side with a straight crack in the middle that divided the mountains into two. "This is the mark of a saber." Luli took a closer look. Once again, he was shocked. The two mountains should be one that was split in the middle by a saber. The two mountains should be at least 100,000 feet tall and with a radius of thousands of miles. But they were split in half from the middle. Luli's abilities were not bad, but he knew that he could not do this. Not even the average supreme warriors in the divinity could do this. To split a mountain with a radius of thousands of miles in one move was not made of mud, but of a special metal. The powerful warriors in this world must be more powerful than those in the divinity. Luli murmured with certainty. The Shinshi in heaven and earth in this world was rich as well. In other words, this world might be similar to the divinity. Suddenly, a bold idea came to Luli's mind. There were many worlds in the mortal world. Maybe the divinity had many worlds as well, and there would be many worlds similar to the divinity. In other words, the immortals in the divinity were not real immortals. They were just beings of a higher level than the mortal world. Could be understood in this way. Above the divinity, there might be more advanced worlds with more powerful beings. The strongest body below the third plane of divinity. Luli remembered what Emperor Z once said. Emperor Z asked Luli which plane of the divinity he was from. Luli could tell that there must be more powerful worlds above the divinity. Maybe the divinity was only the first plane. Above it were the second plane, the third plane, and even the fourth or fifth plane. Emperor Z once asked Luli to do two things for him. The first was to go to the Cliff of Sins to save his daughter. However, Luli searched the entire divinity and did not find a place called the Cliff of Sins. The other thing was that Emperor Z asked Luli to help him kill a foe named Sunlight Emperor. However, there was no powerful warrior named Sunlight Emperor in the divinity. But there was the Slayer. There was also Lu Ling. Lu Ling's family was mysterious. Her family almost never showed up in the divinity. Only the young generation would go to the divinity. Could it be understood? Lu Ling's family was not in the divinity, but in the world above? Also, the two powerful warriors on the list never showed up. Did it mean that they had gone to the world above as well? Luli had always felt that the divinity was not as simple as he had imagined. Now, he was even more surprised when he saw the broken world. Mysterious warrior. Luli remembered that mysterious warrior, the one that helped him many times, the mythical beast. But there was no information about such a powerful warrior in the divinity. Maybe he came from the world above. Only when I reach the supreme level in the divinity can I meet him. Luli remembered the words left by the old warrior at the foot of the Mountain of Dragons. Suddenly, he understood. Was it true that only when one reached the supreme level in the divinity could he enter the world above and meet Lu Ling? But there were so many supreme level warriors in the divinity. Why didn't they go to the world above? Luli had too many thoughts and questions. After a while, he cleared his mind. He didn't even know if he could go out or if the divinity had been conquered by demons. It was pointless to think about it now. He must find a way out first. Chapter 16:35. Flying on, Luli saw many things along the way. He was even more shocked. This world was not weaker than the divinity. Once upon a time, this world was a developed civilization with many powerful warriors. Luli had seen billions of bones along the way, but this was not the end of the world yet. How fast was the time and space turbulence? They had been flying for an hour now. One could only imagine how big this world was. In this world, Luli saw many historical sites, many of which contained laws of nature. Unfortunately, he did not have the time to take a look. He could only take a few glances and commit them to memory. In this world, Luli felt more sorrow and killing intent. It was understandable. It was such a big world with many powerful warriors and prosperity. But now it was destroyed. Castles were turned into ruins. Powerful warriors were buried in sand. Prosperity turned into a wasteland, killing intent. That was what Luli felt. He saw many skeletons with broken weapons in their hands. Their bones were glowing in a golden light. Many of them were still kneeling on the ground, as if they wanted to stand up and fight the enemies before they died. Unyielding and unwilling. The skeletons of many powerful warriors had these two feelings. They could not speak, and they were dead. But Luli could feel it clearly. The entire world was filled with killing intent, unyielding to the enemies, unwilling to accept fate, and hatred toward heaven. Those remnant thoughts were condensed in a killing intent that pervaded the world, hiding in the grasses and trees, and in the air that was filled with the smell of decay. They wished they could kill all the enemies with their swords. They wished they could cut the void with their sabers. Luli looked at the skeletons. Many images flashed across his mind. His blood was pumping too fast. His eyes turned red. He could not help but let out some killing intent. Vaguely, he saw many warriors charging at the powerful enemies with no regard for their own safety. He saw warriors being killed one after another. Blood flowed into rivers and bones piled up like mountains. But still, more warriors were coming. Space and time flew across the sky. The scenery on both sides moved backward. Luli was in a trance. It was as if he was traveling through space and time to witness what had happened in history. They witnessed the emergence of this world, the birth of this world's living beings, their rise, and their eventual demise. This was a wonderful feeling. Luli closed his eyes slowly and immersed himself in it. He sensed the sadness and killing intent in the world and the resentment and hatred of countless people. His body also began to emit killing intent involuntarily. It became more and more intense, merging with the killing intent of this world. He seemed to have been infected by this world, or perhaps the things in this world had ignited some hidden emotions in the depths of his soul. After an unknown period of time, perhaps it was a day, perhaps it was a month, perhaps it was a year, all of a sudden, Luli felt it was getting dark. He trembled and opened his eyes. Then he trembled again. He actually came out unknowingly. The space-time turbulence brought him out of the void. He looked into the distance and became even happier. It was because the entrance to the purgatory of primal chaos was right in front of him. Go! Without any hesitation, he soared into the sky, operated the law of time, and flew out of the space-time turbulence. He carefully examined his body and found that it had completely healed. His expression became solemn as he murmured, "How much time has passed? What is the current situation in the divine world? Let's go." Luli thought for a moment. Without further ado, he flew forward. Soon, he found the entrance to the purgatory of primal chaos and appeared in the prison of thunder. Do I need to go back? Luli decided to go back and have a look. After all, it would only take him half a day to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. Even if the situation in the divinity was bad, a few more days would not make a difference. What was more, if the divinity could not hold on, Luli alone would not help much. How many demons could he kill? Could he defeat the 10-winged demon? No, I look like this now. Soon, Luli was troubled. He had grown out black scales. If he went back like this, he would frighten others. He used the cloaking armor and decided to go back quietly. If his family and friend were fine, he would not show up. He would go back to the divinity after a while. He lifted the seal and sneaked on. In a couple of hours, he arrived at the prison of gold. Everything was fine in the purgatory of primal chaos. In the prison of gold, Luli obtained some information. The Lu family had almost unified all the universes nearby. There were only 2 universes left. Those 2 universes had their entrances and exits sealed. Kamang was working on it. Luli snuck into the Earth Imperial Universe and the Relic City. For Luli, the inhibition formations in the city were not as effective as they were not. The Bloodvine quietly opened the city gate, and Luli dashed in. None of the warriors near the gate noticed him, and the inhibition formations did not move. Only Patriarch of Law Enforcement was in the city. Lu Zhengyang, Lu Renwang, and Jiang Qiling were out. Bai Qiushue was cultivating, and Bai Xiaoshuang had gone out to have fun. Luli gathered some information. He stood in Bai Qiushue's room, gazed at her, and was ready to leave. What? Bai Qiushue suddenly came back to her senses. She looked to where Luli was. It was empty. A glint of disappointment and longing rose in her eyes. Luli forced himself not to show himself. He left the relic city quietly. He was about to fly away when he saw a familiar figure in the city of Great Land. That person had become an immortal. Prajna. Prajna had become an immortal. She had been cultivating the last time Luli came back. She was the first to become an immortal after him. If he had not sealed up the prison of thunder, Prajna would have gone to the divinity. After so many years, Prajna's appearance did not change much. She was still as pretty as a young girl. Her eyes were as clear as water. At the moment, she was standing by a pond. Her knitted eyebrows made people's hearts ache. Luli looked away after a few glances. He was neither a human nor a demon. How could he go and see an old friend? He flew into the distance quietly. Soon, he left the Earth Imperial Universe and flew toward the Prison of Thunder. At the Prison of Thunder, Luli sealed up the entrance again. He had no idea what was going on in the divinity. How could he let Prajna and the others go to the divinity to die? Let's go. He rushed up the Tongtian mountain and appeared on the ascension stage in a flash. He scanned the ascension stage, and his face darkened immediately. There were no longer any official army receiving him on the ascension stage. Something is wrong. Luli had a bad feeling. He flew over quickly. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, he finally found a team of prefecture warriors. He covered himself with armor so that the black scales were not visible. He asked, "How is the war in the divinity? Have demons invaded the divinity?" Invaded? Chapter 1636. Luli had been in that world for a long time. His body had recovered, which was a telling sign. To be precise, it had been 3 months since the battle at Gold Sun Island. 5 days after Luli went into the void, 4 10-winged demons launched an attack. 1 10-winged demon sneaked into the divinity to control warriors and armies, while 3 10-winged demons led a frontal attack. Zhuoqiulu and the others couldn't handle the 3 10-winged demons, not even in a frontal battle. When the rear was thrown into chaos, thousands of controlled human warriors slaughtered and destroyed the magic formation. A rout was inevitable. Morale was the most important factor in a battle. The human army was already in a state of panic. 2 10-winged demons attacked Zhuoqiulu and almost killed her. Zhuoqiulu was wounded again and fled. The human army was in complete chaos. The other 2 demons besieged Yanyu. Luo Guan was distracted by the demon lord. The pavilion master of mystery was not here. Yanyu was soon wounded and had to flee. Needless to say, after several supremes of the divinity were killed, the powerful warriors began to flee. Then, the army began to flee. Eventually, it was a total defeat. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. It wasn't the humans who resisted for 3 days and 3 nights, but the demon army who slaughtered for 3 days and 3 nights. The human army lost more than 50 million people. Countless human warriors became demon slaves. The demon army's numbers began to double. The demon army rested for a short while. Countless demon slaves led the way. The army split into 10 groups and invaded in 3 directions. Along the way, the demon army was unstoppable. Countless immortals were demonized. The demon army grew like a rolling snowball. If it weren't for Yanyu and the others who stopped the demon army and gave the immortals of various prefectures time to retreat, the demon army would have reached the size of billions. Even though many powerful warriors organized counterattacks again and again, the demon army kept surging and expanding. In just a few months, they had occupied a small part of the divinity's territory. Luckily, a powerful warrior, Lord Ji, who ranked first on the divine list, came out and fought with a 10-winged demon. The demon army stopped their attack and expansion after he wounded the demon. Number 1 on the divine list. Lord Ji's name wasn't well known by the people of the world. The information of the first and second rankers of the god list was kept confidential. Now that he had become famous after a single battle, the entire immortal realm knew of him. The natives of the god world were already in despair, but now a glimmer of hope was ignited. The number one on the divine list was the strongest person in the divine realm. Moreover, he managed to injure the 10-winged demon the moment he made a move. His battle prowess was so high that all the people of the human race saw hope and found their backbone. Why did this Lord G come out so late? Luli could not figure it out. The warrior ranked first on the list was the most powerful in the divinity. Why would he only come out after half of the divinity had fallen? Why did he only come out after so many human beings had died? A small territory of the half-god realm. How many prefectures would that be? How many humans were there in each prefecture? Although some had retreated later, how many humans had died this time? How many humans had become demonic slaves and walking corpses? Luli was not being petty. He was just wondering if this Lord G was not in the divinity in the beginning and had gone to the world above and only came back recently. Phew. The appearance of Lord G was a relief to Luli. Even if the sky was falling, there would be a tall man to hold it up. Lord G was the tall man. At least, with Lord G there, Luli was not as stressed as before. Lord G has sent out an order for all the powerful human warriors to gather at the prison of heaven. He will lead the human army to launch a counterattack against the demons and drive them back to the demon realm. The leader of the scouts cupped his fists. Luli was strong. He had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in the divinity. A warrior like him could make a significant contribution on the battlefield. Understand. Luli nodded and flew into the distance. He would not go to the prison of heaven. Once his appearance was seen by powerful warriors, he would be taken as a demonic slave. When the time came, he would not die in the hands of the demons, but would die in the hands of the humans. This was the south of the divinity. Luli could go to the Swords Mountain. For one thing, he wanted to discuss with Emperor of Heaven Reverse and ask them to relocate. For another, he wanted to see if Little White was back. Little White had gone missing at the Wei D Mountain. Luli was worried about it. He wanted to go back and see if Little White had wandered off. What if it had gone back to the Wei D Mountain? Luli's eyes dimmed. Where was Qi Shi'er? Luli had no idea. Had she been killed by demons? Had she been demonized? The Heavenly Star Island had been occupied by demons. Luli wondered if warriors of the Heavenly Star Island had left the divinity. Luli teleported over with worry and anxiety. Teleportation was strict now. Everyone would check their identity. Fortunately, Luli was strong, and there was no black scale on his face. Nobody dared to stop him. It took Luli more than 10 days to arrive at the Swords Mountain. Reports came in from the front line. Lord G led the army to counterattack and won 3 battles in a row. Millions of demons were killed. The entire divinity rejoiced. Many people worshipped Lord G day and night. After Luli heard the news, he was deeply worried. These 10-winged demons were all cunning and powerful in combat. 4 10-winged demons couldn't join hands to stop Lord G. Either Lord G was really brave and he could defeat 4 demons on his own, or it was a trap set by demons. Either this was a trap set by the devil, and the devil was secretly plotting to kill Lord G. Whoosh, Luli went up the mountain quietly and entered Emperor of Heaven Reverse's castle. Emperor of Heaven Reverse opened his eyes at once. Luli came out and cupped his fists. Your Majesty, Luli? Emperor of Heaven Reverse was surprised. Then he was overjoyed. He stood up and tried to take Luli's hand to sit down. But Luli stepped back. Your Majesty, don't touch me. I have the smell of demons in me. Smell of demons? Emperor of Heaven Reverse was taken aback. He asked, Are you all right? Can you get rid of the smell of demons? I haven't found a way to solve it yet, but I will not become a demon slave. Don't worry, Emperor. I will find a way to solve it. Luli explained and then asked, Emperor, is my spiritual beast Little White back? No. Emperor of Heaven Reverse shook his head. I have been sending people to the Wei D Mountain. There is no news of any spirit beast, alas. Luli frowned. He waved his hand. Let be. Your Majesty, you must think of a way out. If anything goes wrong, you will be able to move at once. What? Emperor of Heaven Reverse was surprised. Lord G, Haven't you won many victories recently? I have heard some stories about Lord G. He was already powerful 10,000 years ago. He should be able to defeat armies of demons, right? Safety first. Luli waved his hand. What if something goes wrong? You must think a way out. If the divinity does fall, at least you won't be helpless and wait for death. All right. Emperor of Heaven reverse nodded. I will go and find a secret area. I hope that won't happen. Otherwise, the human race will be doomed eternally. In the future, all the immortals that ascend to the human world will be enslaved by demons. Men, quickly send a message and ask the Lord to come and take down this fiend. Shio, a warrior rushed into the teleportation formation. Luli felt troubled. He took out a copper hammer, flew up, and said, "If you don't trust me, then let's go out of the city and fight. These low-level warriors shouldn't come here to court death. Let's have a fair fight." The old man had not made a move yet because there were too many low-level martial artists at the city gate. Since Luli said so, he agreed. He flew up and followed Luli out of the city. Whoosh, 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 many warriors followed him out of the city. If Luli was a demon, then he must be killed. Otherwise, many people would be demonized and the city would be turned into hell. Swish! As soon as the old man was more than 30 miles out of the city, he pulled his bow open. A black arrow appeared on the black bow. The arrow vanished into the air after it left the bow. What? Luli, who was running away, raised his eyebrows. He sensed some movement in the space behind him. Without hesitation, he smashed the copper hammer behind him. Bang! With a muffled sound, the copper hammer in Luli's hand was shattered. The black arrow continued its way toward Luli's back with irresistible force. Destruction, fundamental principle? Luli sensed some movement in the space in front of the black arrow. He noticed that the space in front of the arrow was being torn apart, like a mirror that was breaking. The copper hammer he took out was a supreme relic. If the copper hammer could not stop the arrow, then the cloaking armor he was wearing could not. Hoi! He waved his fist behind him. He was not trying to stop the arrow with his fist. Instead, when he waved his fist, he created some force in heaven and earth. He wanted to use some force in heaven and earth to suppress and weaken the arrow. Bang! Luli's move was not bad. With a trace of force from heaven and earth, the power of the arrow was weakened and it was smashed away by Luli. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, as soon as Luli knocked away an arrow, the space around him began to tremble. Following that, tens of arrows shot out, causing the surrounding space to crack and even caused space to tremble. *T. Luli sensed fatal danger in his soul. He knew he could not preserve his strength or he would lose his life. Without any hesitation, he flicked his sleeve heavily with one hand. Following that, a formless spatial force pressed down, suppressing all the arrows and cultivators. That super mighty warrior from the divinity was taken aback. The horrifying force in heaven and earth reminded him of someone, the god of slaughter, Luli. Luli had 3 moves that made him famous. The first was the force in heaven and earth, the second was Ghost King's Cut, and the third was the Sacred Mountain. Both the Sacred Mountain and the Ghost King's Cut were unique. Some people knew about the force in space, so the super mighty warrior could not make a judgment. Luli was hesitating even though he had gained the upper hand. If he didn't kill them, his identity might be exposed. By then, he would become a public enemy of the human race. But if he killed them, they would be innocent. There were many people nearby, at least thousands. Including those in the city, there would be more than 100,000. Everyone was in a state of anxiety. More people were coming from the city, but they did not know that their lives were in Luli's hands. Never mind, never mind. Luli shook his head. The human race was facing a disaster. If Luli wanted to kill powerful human warriors, he would be no different from a demon. Luli thought of the island, the kid, and the innocent people he killed. Phew, phew. Luli took a deep breath. Suddenly, he scratched his face and revealed himself. He glanced over and said, "I am Luli. Maybe you are familiar with this name. I will not lie to you. I do have the energy of a demon, but I am not controlled by the demon. My soul is clear. Believe it or not, it is up to you. I have a clear conscience. Buzzing, Luli canceled the suppression of spatial force and flew into the distance. That super mighty warrior in the divinity didn't go after him. He didn't even dare to move. Luli's name was well known. He could even kill supreme warriors in the divinity. What was more, Luli was the first to fight against the demon. Back at the Gold Sun Island, Luli killed his way into the demon's camp and helped Zhuo Lu and the others escape. How could such a hero become a demon slave? What was more, if Luli really became a demon slave, how could everyone here survive? They would have been silenced. Lord Luli, I believe in you. Lord Luli, we believe in you. You are a hero. Hero, hero. Someone shouted, and then many others followed suit. Their voices were earth-shattering and resounded in the clouds. Alas, Luli, who was flying to the distant side. Maybe after today, he would not be a hero anymore. He would become a public enemy. Chapter 1638. Luli flew away, and he was being tracked down. He had been flying to the east. Warriors were everywhere in the divinity. It was not surprising that they could track Luli's whereabouts. The fact that Luli had a demonic aura and what he had said spread like wildfire. Many people's first reaction was to think that Luli was a true hero. That being said, in just 3 or 4 days, the situation changed. Someone might have been doing it on purpose. Things about Luli began to change. On the 6th day, many people said that Luli had been demonized by demonic energy and had become a demon lord or even a 10-winged demon slave. As for why Luli didn't kill that super mighty warrior and all the warriors in the city, it was easy to understand. Luli was under the control of a demon, but he pretended that he was not. He was trying to deceive others, to assassinate powerful warriors of a human race, or to have a bigger scheme. Could warriors who were demonized by demonic energy ever return to normal human beings? No. In history, all the demonized warriors died or became a demon slave forever. There was no redemption. 500,000 years ago, a famous supreme warrior in the divinity became a demon slave. In the end, he was controlled by the demon and many human warriors were killed. Therefore, many people did not believe that Luli's soul could remain independent after his body was demonized. That was almost impossible. Luli's abilities were horrifying and his skills in hiding were incredible. If he was demonized and snuck into the divinity to carry out a conspiracy and assassinate powerful human warriors, the consequences would be unimaginable. The 4 forces did not say anything. Lord G did not order anyone to track Luli either. But many scouts began to quietly search for Luli's whereabouts. After all, Luli had demonic energy. If he were to enter the army, he could cause tens of thousands of human warriors to be demonized. Luli did not enter the city. He had been flying in the void and teleporting to the east. His destination was clearly the area where the demons were. This led to more rumors. Luli had been demonized and his identity was exposed. He wanted to go back to the demon's camp at once. The 4 forces still did not stop Luli. Since he wanted to go back to the demon's camp, they would let him. Many would be killed if they tried to stop him. What was more, Luli could change directions constantly. It would be difficult to stop him, unless Lord G personally took action. That being said, Lord G was the commander of the human race. How could he come after Luli? He had to stay at the center of the army. Without him, the human army would lose its morale. Once he left and the army was attacked by the demons, it could lead to a complete defeat. Have you heard? That killing god, Luli, has now become a lackey of the demons. I've heard a little about it, but I still can't believe it. Luli is a hero of the human race. How could he become a lackey of the demons? It's not that he wanted to change. He was captured by the 10-winged abyss devil on Gold Sun Island and became its slave. It is said that he has infiltrated the divine world and has secretly assassinated many experts of the human race. Ah, really? Who did you assassinate? There are a lot of them, but the news has been sealed. The higher-ups don't allow it to spread. I heard it from my second aunt's cousin's neighbor. That person is with Lord G. I heard that Lord G has given the order to kill Lu Li. Once Lu Li's whereabouts are found, Lord G will come and kill him in person. Lord G, that must be true. It seems that Lu Li has assassinated many powerful warriors of the human race. Alas, the hero of the past has become a lackey of the demons. What a pity. Are the heavens trying to destroy the divinity? Don't panic. Lord G is powerful. If Lu Li dares to show up, Lord G can kill him in one move. Everyone has the right to kill the lackey of the demons. Lu Li knows that he might be controlled by the demons. Why didn't he kill himself? He is a coward. What kind of hero is he? Bah! In a small city, Lu Li was drinking tea in a tea house. Several people were talking about this. Lu Li sat in silence, expressionless. He was not disappointed or angry. In fact, he had already expected these things. Many people's hearts were very dark, and when the human race faced such a great calamity, people's hearts would become even darker. With some people adding fuel to the fire, this would be the end of the world. Lu Li didn't care. His reputation had never been good. Later, he became a hero of the human race after he fought against the demons at the sinful area and what happened at Gold Sun Island. He was not used to it. Lackey of the demons, traitor, thief, demon. He had been given all kinds of bad names. But so what? He just had a few more titles after the god of slaughter. The world slandered him, bullied him, humiliated him, laughed at him, belittled him, despised him, hated him, and lied to him. What should he do? He just had to tolerate it, let it be, avoid it, put up with it, respect it, and ignore it. He would wait for a few more years and see how it would turn out. Lu Li had always sought a clear conscience. Since he had a clear conscience, did it really matter what others thought of him? He believed that history would give him a fair evaluation, but he would be dead in the next 100 years. He didn't care what others thought of him. He had been flying towards the east, not because he couldn't hide on the human side, but because he wanted to kill a few more demons and contribute to the human race. In that world in the void, he saw bones all over the ground, the destruction of a civilization, and the hatred of many powerful warriors. He didn't want the divinity to repeat the mistakes of that world. He didn't want the prosperous divinity to turn into a wasteland. He didn't want the cities to turn into ruins. He didn't want tens of millions of humans to be enslaved like pigs and dogs. Lu Li didn't know much about righteousness. He only knew that when the nest was overturned, there would be no unbroken eggs. When the divinity was gone, would the mortal world be safe? By then, some demons could turn the entire 9 universes into hell. Therefore, he was fighting for himself, for his family, and for his fellow humans. He didn't care about the righteousness of the human race. All he wanted was to do his best to kill those inhumane demons and restore the divinity to its former glory. Of course, he wanted to capture a demon lord to remove the demonic energy from his body. He didn't want to live like this for the rest of his life. Let's go. He drew a formation in the void with one hand. He didn't go out to avoid the others. Since he was already a demon in the eyes of others, he didn't need to care about others' opinions. Buzzing, a small golden door appeared. Lu Li dashed into the door and vanished into the air. All the warriors in the city were alarmed. The city master, a mighty warrior in the divinity, used psychic power to check. Soon, he shouted, flying in the void. He is Lu Li. Lu Li? The dozens of warriors that were hurling abuse at Lu Li in the tea house turned pale. Just now, Lu Li was in the tea house. They were cursing him to his face. Did we misunderstand him? Chapter 1639. Lu Li was flying toward the east. The human armies had begun to launch a counterattack on the territories that the demons had conquered. The main force of the demons did not fight the human army head-on. The demon general dispersed the demon army and led countless demon slaves to attack the human territory from different directions. The fiend demon commander's intentions were very clear. With such a large fiend army, it would be very difficult for the human race to intercept them. As long as one fiend army charged into the heart of the divine world, it would snowball and demonize more and more devil slaves. Once the demon slaves spread, it would be like a plague that would doom the entire human race. At the same time, the demon general sent out some demon lords to sneak into the hinterland of the human race. They began to destroy and demonize human warriors. All of a sudden, the flames of war rose everywhere. The demon general adopted a smart approach and used offense as defense. They could not stop Lord G now, so they would set the human race on fire. The human race would not be able to fend for themselves and counterattack. Almost at the same time, news came from the 12 prefectures that evil demon experts had appeared. Millions of citizens in the major cities had been demonized. The demonized slaves immediately spread out in all directions and began to attack the other cities. When the news of the 10 armies of evil demons attacking reached the human army's headquarters, everyone had a headache. A group of powerful warriors gathered in the Heaven's Wall city, not knowing what to do. Lord G, what do we do now? In a castle, a group of supreme warriors in the divinity looked at a bronze-skinned, middle-aged man sitting at the head of the table. Lord G was actually very old. He was at least tens of thousands of years old, but he did not look old at all. His looks were ordinary. The only thing special about him was that his skin was a bit dark. His eyes were so bright that no one dared to look at him directly. He pondered for a moment and looked at the hopeful eyes. The enemy is using offense as defense. We only have 2 ways. One is to put out fires everywhere. The second is to attack the enemy's base and kill the enemy general. Everyone thought about it and realized that there were indeed only 2 ways. The first was to focus on saving lives and stabilizing the situation. The second was to take drastic measures. Once the demon general was killed, the demon army would definitely want to retreat. However, both methods had their drawbacks. The first way was to put out fires everywhere. It was easy for the enemy to grasp the rhythm and lead by the nose. The second method was to directly attack the root of the problem. After all, there were 4 10-winged demons and so many demon overlords. Could Lord G and the others kill 4 10-winged demons? Rushing into the enemy's camp, what if it was a trap? Zhuoqiu had been injured twice by the 10-winged demon, so he was somewhat fearful of the demon powerhouses. He thought for a moment and said, Lord G, I think it's better to be safe and carry out the first plan. Let's send people to kill the evil demons that have infiltrated the interior first. Otherwise, if this continues, many humans will suffer. Yes, yes. One of the divine world's supremes nodded and said, it's better to prioritize the rescue first. Killing our way into the fiend's camp might be a trap. If anything happens to my lord, the divine world will be consigned to eternal damnation. Yes. More and more people responded. If Lord G led his men and directly attacked the base camp of the evil demons, it wouldn't matter if they died, but if Lord G died, the immortal realm would be completely finished. Lord Xianyuan, who was ranked 2nd on the divine list, had not shown up. It was very likely that he would not show up. All right. Lord G sighed, waved his hand, and said, make some arrangements. Go and kill all the demon overlords that infiltrated. I'll oversee this place, and the 10-winged demons won't dare to move. Okay. Zhuoqiu was relieved. He was afraid that Lord G would go crazy and lead them to kill their way into the fiend's camp. Lord G was very powerful. If he ran into a trap, he might be able to escape unscathed, but they might have to stay there forever. The 4 supreme forces seemed to be very powerful, but this time, many supremes of the divinity had died. If they all died, even if they could defeat the army of the evil demons, the situation of the divinity might change. Zhuoqiu and the others began to make arrangements. Countless supremes of the divinity were sent out. Through the teleportation altar of the space-time office, they quickly reached the area where the evil demons appeared. One was to kill the evil slaves, and the other was to find and kill the evil demons. The humans, who were planning to attack, were forced to stop. Lord G deployed troops to intercept the 10 armies of the evil demons. The situation was reversed. The demons were in charge of the attack, and the humans were in charge of the defense. Buzzing, Luli flew across the void again and appeared in a barren mountain. After he came out, he used psychic power to check. Making sure that there were no enemies, he sat down and rested. After resting for an hour, when Luli was about to fly across the void again, he suddenly heard some strange sounds coming from afar. It sounded like a series of footsteps. There were also faint cries of fear. Luli turned invisible at once. He flew to a mountain and looked into the distance. A look of astonishment quickly appeared on his face because a group of humans was running towards him from the wasteland in the distance. There were at least tens of thousands of people. Many of them were wailing, their voices filled with despair and sorrow. Whoosh! Luli flew over and soon he arrived. Soon, his expressions changed. Many of the tens of thousands of people were old, weak women and children. Behind them, there were many warriors chasing after them. Evil slaves. Luli was even more shocked when he saw the looming black scales on the warriors behind him and their bloodshot eyes. He was still in the human hinterland. How could there be evil slaves? Was the army of the evil demons here? Roar, roar. Woo, the evil slaves let out beast-like cries. They ran over quickly. When they caught up with a human, they would either tear the human apart with their bare hands or bite the human with their mouths. Sometimes, they would wrap themselves around the human with black airstream and let the demonic energy demonize the human. Go to hell. Luli moved at once. He waved his hand, and heaven and earth energy came down. Nobody within a radius of 30 miles could move. The demon slayer appeared in his hand. He moved like a ghost. One ray of sword light after another flew by, and the heads of the evil slaves dropped to the ground. Black blood sprayed into the air, and the headless bodies fell to the ground. There were more than 1,000 evil slaves. In a time for one incense stick to burn, Luli had killed all of them. He also killed dozens of warriors that were affected by the demonic energy. Otherwise, they might all be demonized. What is going on? Luli turned around and asked after he killed all the evil slaves. Thank you, Lord, for saving our lives. An old man knelt down, and the others followed suit. The old man bowed with tears in his eyes and said, Lord, please go and save the others. Our Watermoon City has just been breached by the demons. Many people in the city have been demonized. Those evil slaves are chasing after us. Go ahead and find another city. I will go and save the others. Luli flew away. What he saw along the way almost made him lose his mind. Bodies were everywhere. Many children were torn apart. Many old men and women were affected by the demonic energy. They were lying on the ground, screaming in pain. It seemed that they were going to be demonized soon. Bang! Luli waved the demon slayer and sent them on their way. They would rather die quickly than live like the walking dead. In a time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Luli arrived at a small city nearby. After he checked the city with psychic power, he could no longer suppress his killing intent. Chapter 1640. A beautiful little city was now in ruins. There were corpses everywhere, and blood dyed the entire city red. Some were still alive. Their legs were broken and half of their bodies were gone. But they were demonized by the demonic energy. They were screaming and screaming, living a life worse than death. More importantly, Luli saw several children who were also demonized by the demonic energy. They were walking around the city like zombies. They would trip over dead bodies and then get up again, walking around aimlessly. They were covered in blood, and their hair was disheveled. They were like ghosts. Luli had never wanted to kill as much as he did at this moment. He had never been filled with such murderous intent. He remembered when he entered that world with the turbulence in time and space. He remembered the killing intent that was everywhere and the unwillingness and anger of the dead warriors. He wished he could kill this unfair heaven. Luli was having this feeling. He vented his anger. He swung his saber and hacked at a huge mountain in front of him on the left. A glare came out. He didn't release Ghost King's cut. Instead, he poured divine energy into his saber and hacked at the mountain in front of him. An earth-shattering saber radiance whizzed out and fiercely slashed at the mountain. Boom! Accompanied by a rumbling sound, the mountain was split open from the middle, and the terrifying blade Chi blew up the entire mountain. Gravel flew everywhere, and smoke and dust billowed, covering the sky and covering the sun. I think it is more powerful. Luli was surprised. His move was filled with anger, but it was more powerful. He didn't have much time to cultivate recently. How could it be more powerful? Is it because of the killing intent? Luli pondered as he flew on. But soon he had no time to think. There were Asmodean slaves in front of him, and they were chasing after warriors. Dying. Luli was in a rage. He dashed on. He was so fast. Using the force in heaven and earth, he began a bloody massacre. At the same time, he used psychic power to look for the culprit. There were only Asmodean slaves nearby. There was no trace of demons. Luli had to kill all the Asmodean slaves in a rage. He gave some orders to those who were running away and then flew on to find other Asmodean slaves to save all the humans. Jiang circled around the city and chased after the devil slaves. One by one, he slaughtered the devil slaves. Along the way, he saw corpses everywhere. They were all martial artists who were on the verge of being demonized. They roared towards the sky and struggled. The more Luli killed, the angrier he became. He had been searching for demons nearby, but to no avail. After spending more than 4 hours, he had killed all the demon slaves. There were more than 100,000 of them, including many children and elderly women. He flew around the area once more. After confirming that there were no more demon slaves, he turned around and prepared to leave. He didn't want to face those terrified faces and those eyes that wanted to cry, but had no tears. Those demonic slaves had once lived in the same city as them. They might even be from the same family, or even their own brothers, wife, father, or child. Once they were demonized by the demonic aura, they would turn into enemies, demons, and ghosts. They would hunt down their loved ones and clansmen. How pitiful was this situation? How sorrowful and indignant was this? Luli was burning with anger, but he had nowhere to vent it. Killing the demon slaves did not give him any sense of pleasure. Half a day ago, these devil slaves were still living humans. They might be gentle women, amiable elders, or innocent children. Once they were demonized by the demonic aura, they would all turn into demons and malicious spirits. Buzzing, just as Luli was about to fly away, the space on his left suddenly trembled. Luli's hair stood on end. He looked to the left and saw a black claw in the void. The claw was like the claw of the Grim Reaper, enlarging in Luli's eyes. Demon! Luli's soul trembled. His eyes turned red. The anger and murderous intent that he had been suppressing for a long time were released. His eyes turned completely red. He didn't even think about using any special move. He just swung the demon slayer and hacked at the claw. Swish! Luli swung his saber. All the murderous intent in his body poured out, as if it had merged with this move. The ray of light whooshed on. A demon that had just come out from the void stopped on the spot. Then the ray of light landed on his head. Boom! Something that shocked even Luli happened. The demon was actually split in half by his sword. Most importantly, this demon was a 6-winged demon. The 6-winged demon was comparable to a super mighty warrior in the divinity. Demons were strong. Luli once fought against an 8-winged demon. Not even the Ghost Lord Cut could kill the 8-winged demon. In the end, Luli had to rely on the worms of the void to kill the 8-winged demon. If Luli used the Ghost Lord Cut, it would be easy for him to kill the 6-winged demon. However, he did not. How could he kill the 6-winged demon with just divine energy? Was the 6-winged demon a fake? Was it made of paper? No, it is murderous intent. Luli was delighted. Just now, he poured out all his murderous intent. This move was not an average one. It was the upgraded move of the Slayer's move. Yes, the Slayer's move has evolved. Luli stood on the peak with his eyes closed. The scene he saw in the Slayer's blood came to his mind. In the blood, the Slayer was slaughtering demons. 4-winged demons and 6-winged demons could be killed easily with one move. 8-winged demons could be killed easily as well. Murderous intent. Maybe the thick murderous intent can subdue demons and crack their defense. But must the murderous intent be concentrated in the attack? And the murderous intent must be concentrated to the extreme? Luli thought about it. He was only a super mighty warrior in the divinity. If he only used divine energy, he could not kill the six-winged demon. This must have something to do with the uniqueness of the Slayer's move. The Slayer's move might be able to subdue demons. Otherwise, it would not make sense. Even if the Slayer's move had evolved, it would not be easy to kill the six-winged demon. After all, demons had strong bodies. Murderous intent is something special. If I can integrate the murderous intent into the move, the power will soar. Is this the essence of a Slayer's move? Luli closed his eyes, forgetting everything else. He immersed himself in the study of the Slayer's move. He had a feeling that after this, the Slayer's move might reach the perfect state. He could kill the six-winged demon as if it were livestock. If the Slayer's move could reach the perfect state, then it would be easy for him to kill the eight-winged demon as well. Or could it threaten the 10-winged demon? Cultivate. Luli did not care about anything else. He sat on the ground with his legs crossed and entered the cryptic spirit realm. If the Slayer's move could subdue demons, then it would be crucial. He must seize the opportunity and reach the perfect state of the Slayer's move at one go. Chapter 1641. Luli had been studying the Slayer's move for years. After he came to the divinity, Luli had been trying to evolve the Slayer's move. Unfortunately, after so many years, he had made no progress. The Slayer's move was created by the Slayer alone. Only those who had gone through the same experience as the Slayer and understood the Slayer's thoughts at that moment could achieve great success. Otherwise, it would be impossible to achieve large success. This was because such a true intent was too unique. It was a powerful and strange true intent that could only be formed under specific conditions. Luli's killing intent had always been strong. From the heaven reverse universe to the 9 universes, to the divinity, to the land of Yin, Luli had killed too many people. That being said, killing intent and killing intent did not mean that one could master the Slayer's move or understand the essence of the Slayer's move. This time, Luli was taken to that strange world by the turbulence of time and space. In that world, he sensed a special kind of killing intent. If Luli's killing intent in the past was hatred toward his enemies, the killing intent in that world was hatred toward heaven and the unfairness of fate. One was righteousness, and the other was righteousness. The realms were different, which gave Luli a different understanding of killing intent. What was more, what he had seen and heard recently, the innocent eyes of the kid on the island, the hell-like scene in the city, everything had elevated Luli's understanding of killing intent. Luli could vaguely understand how the Slayer felt. Back then, demons invaded as well. The Slayer saw the demons wreaking havoc on humans, millions of dead bodies, and the tragedy in the human world. The Slayer was touched, which was why he created the Slayer's move. What Luli was going through was similar to what the Slayer was going through. His understanding was similar as well. Luli sat in the mountain with his legs crossed. The killing intent was fluctuating. 2 hours passed by, but Luli did not notice it. 3 days later, some scouts finally came and found Luli as well. Luli did not wear a mask. Soon, he was recognized. There were many dead bodies of demon slaves around him, which aroused the scouts' suspicion. The scouts did not dare to come close to Luli. They only checked from a distance. Luli was studying the Slayer's move, and his killing intent would grow stronger. He couldn't suppress his demonic aura either, so the scouts could sense it from afar. A misunderstanding naturally arose. The scouts thought that the demonized slaves were Luli's and that the tragedy in the nearby cities was caused by Luli. They quietly retreated and immediately reported the situation here. As a matter of fact, Luli had sensed the presence of the scouts. However, he was at a critical moment in learning the Slayer's move. He did not have the time or the mood to mind them. It just so happened that there were 2 exalts from the god world nearby. Zhuo Lu and the others had sent out many exalts from the god world to clean up the devil overlords lurking in the hinterland of the human race. The battle prowess of a fiend overlord was comparable to that of a supreme being in the immortal world. Therefore, they were usually in pairs so that they could take care of each other. Coincidentally, one of the two supreme warriors from the divinity was an old acquaintance of Lu Li. One was Patriarch Huang, and the other was a master of one of the 72 sects, Yang Feng. Patriarch Huang was overjoyed to hear the news. He wanted to go after Lu Li with Yang Feng at once. Lu Li was a disgrace to him and the craftsman's sect. If he could kill Lu Li, he could wash away the shame. However, Yang Feng wasn't crazy. He wasn't willing to go because he had followed Zhuo Lu to Gold Sun Island. If it were not for Lu Li's warning, Yang Feng would have died at the Gold Sun Island. Patriarch Huang wanted to go by himself, but on second thoughts, he felt it was not safe. Lu Li was improving fast, and he once killed Patriarch Qi. Patriarch Huang was confident that Lu Li was stronger than Patriarch Qi, but Patriarch Huang was afraid to take the risk. Patriarch Huang sent a message to Luo Yi at once. Patriarch Huang remembered that Luo Yi had come out as well. Luo, you should be more than a dozen prefectures away. It would only take him a couple of hours to get there by using the teleportation formation of Spacetime Office. While sending a message to Luo Yi, Patriarch Huang sent someone to keep an eye on Lu Li. He could not let Lu Li escape. Yang Feng thought for a while and asked Patriarch Huang to report to Lord Ji and ask him to make a decision. Patriarch Huang would not miss such a good chance. Patriarch Huang used his power to pressure Yang Feng and forbade him from reporting. Yang Feng did not dare to disobey Patriarch Huang. After all, the Craftsman sect was one of the 4 legendary forces. Half a day later, Luo Yi came. He was overjoyed. Lu Li was not only a disgrace to him, but also a disgrace to him. The fact that Lu Li went to the 9 universes to kill Lu Li's family was spread out. Lu Li was despised by everyone in the world. Many people looked at him in a different light. Deep in their bones, they disdained him. During this time, Patriarch Huang had been dreaming of killing Lu Li. Now, Patriarch Huang finally had the chance to kill Lu Li. How could he not be excited? Master Yang. Patriarch Huang felt more confident now. He looked at Yang Feng and warned, Lu Li is under the control of the demon. He turned that city into hell and killed so many humans. He is no different from a demon. If you don't want to come with us, we will not force you. But I hope you will not stop us or create obstacles for us. Just pretend that you know nothing about this. Looking at the threatening look in Patriarch Huang's eyes, Yang Feng forced a smile and said, All right, I will pretend that I know nothing about this. Do whatever you want. Let's go. Patriarch Huang and Luo Yi looked at each other and teleported away at once. After 7 or 8 times, they arrived at the small city. They left the city quickly and sneaked toward Lu Li. Master! 300 miles away from Lu Li, the scout went over and reported, Lu Li is still cultivating over there. Nothing is happening. Okay. Patriarch Huang and Luo Yi's cheeks reddened. Patriarch Huang waved his hand and said, Grandmaster Luo, you attack for the front and I will sneak up on him. Let's try to kill Lu Li in one move. I attack from the front? Luo Yi's expressions changed. The Hall of Darkness had always been known for being cunning, and Luo Yi was best at sneak attacks. Now, Patriarch Huang was asking him to attack from the front? Patriarch Huang was going to sneak up on him? Wasn't this a joke? Patriarch Huang was not joking. He put on a serious face. Luo Yi put on a bitter expression. Patriarch Huang was afraid of Lu Li, so he asked Luo Yi to be the bait. In this way, Patriarch Huang would be safer. What? Is there a problem? Patriarch Huang's smile grew creepy. Luo Yi felt a chill down his spine. Luo Yi knew that if he didn't take the risk this time, he would never be protected by the craftsman's sect in the future. No problem. Luo Yi made up his mind. This was the best chance, and he could not let it go. He nodded to Patriarch Huang, who sneaked away like a fox. He took a detour and went to Lu Li's back, ready to cooperate. Phew, phew. After a while, Luo Yi exhaled. He flew away like a ghost toward Lu Li in the distance. He took out a hook. Last time, he failed to cut Lu Li's throat. This time, he would not miss the chance. Whoosh! He moved in the void and appeared when he was about 1,000 feet away from Lu Li. The hook whooshed across the sky and slid toward Lu Li's neck. The glint on the hook was frighteningly cold, like the hook in the hands of a messenger from hell. Buzzing. Chapter 1642. Luo Yi had always been afraid of Lu Li. Last time, he was almost killed by Lu Li. Later on, Lu Li killed Patriarch Qi. Luo Yi knew that he was weaker than Patriarch Qi. More importantly, Lu Li went to Gold Sun Island alone and was still alive. If he wasn't controlled by the devil, then his abilities must have soared. Retreat. Even though the hook in his hand was about to cut Lu Li's throat, he didn't hesitate at all. He was thinking about retreating. He sensed a fatal danger. If he didn't retreat, he would die. Too late. Lu Li didn't want to kill. What he saw, it was Luo Yi. He could no longer hide his murderous intent. The demon slayer appeared in his hand. He didn't use Ghost King cut. He just cut at Luo Yi gently. Swish! With a piercing sound, a red ray of sword light came out from the demon slayer. This ray of sword light wasn't big, nor did it have a horrifying momentum. It wasn't earth-shattering like Ghost King cut, which had the power of thunder and changed the color of heaven and earth. This ray of sword light was more like an ordinary release of divine energy. It seemed to be slow. It just floated towards Luo Yi. Hiss. From the outside, this ray of sword light was completely different from Luo Yi's. At this moment, Luo Yi suddenly stopped. He felt the world in front of him had changed. It became a world of blood, a world of killing, a world of evil spirits. He discovered that he was enveloped by a terrifying, baleful aura. That baleful aura invaded his body and seeped into his soul. His body had been controlled by the baneful aura, and his soul spirit had sunk into the baneful aura. He saw the sky full of saber lights, the ground full of corpses, and the blood that had gathered to form a sea. He also saw his body being cleaved into two. Bang! The ray of sword light floated over and landed on Luo Yi's head. Then Luo Yi's head was split open. The ray of sword light cut Luo Yi's body open. It was as if a sharp saber had chopped into an apple, and the apple had been sliced open almost effortlessly. Patriarch Huang, who had just shown up behind Lu Li, was stunned. He looked at Luo Yi's body that was split into halves. He felt cold all over, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. In the divine world, cultivation realms were not important. However, there was still a world of difference between ordinary divine spirits and divine world's almighty beings, divine world's super almighty beings, and divine world supremes. It wasn't impossible to kill people above one's level. There were many geniuses in history who were able to kill people above their level. For example, when he was still a super almighty in the God realm, he had used powerful divine arts and some unique methods to kill a relatively weak God realm paragon. However, that was still the minority, and it was extremely difficult. He had expended a tremendous amount of effort and had even used many strategies to kill that paragon of the God realm. At that time, he had only been a step away from becoming a paragon in the divine world. It had not been long since Lu Li became a super mighty warrior in the divinity. It was not surprising that he could defeat all the super mighty warriors in the divinity. Patriarch Huang found it acceptable that Lu Li could kill Patriarch Qi. But now, Lu Li had killed Luo Yi with just one gentle move. This was unacceptable to Patriarch Huang. Patriarch Huang was much more powerful than Luo Yi. That being said, he could not kill Luo Yi face to face. Apart from the top 10 warriors on the list, Patriarch Huang believed that nobody could do it. Lu Li did it. In other words, Lu Li could be as powerful as the top 10 warriors on the list. Patriarch Huang found this hard to accept. Lu Li was not even a supreme warrior in the divinity, and he had not passed the heaven tribulation. It was impossible for him to have such strong abilities. Killing intent? Such strong killing intent. Patriarch Huang finally came to his senses. Luli's killing intent was so strong that it could materialize. An idea came to his mind. Could it be that Luli had mastered the Slayer's move to the perfect realm? The Slayer's move. That was one of the top 10 moves in the divinity. The Slayer used the Slayer's move to make it to the top 10 on the list. If it were not for the Space-Time Office's trump card, the Slayer would have killed the Master of Space-Time Office, and the Space-Time Office would have been destroyed because of him. The second Slayer is here, Patriarch Kwong gulped. Out of instinct, he wanted to step back. However, Luli had turned around and was staring at him with his blood-red eyes. Patriarch Kwong did not dare to step back. He was on guard, ready to fight to the death or find a chance to leave. Patriarch Kwong was terrified of Luli. The young man in front of him was not Luli, but the Slayer. Luli looked at Patriarch Kwong and said, "You are Patriarch Kwong from the Craftsman's sect?" Patriarch Kwong once sent someone to hunt Luli down for a long time. Luli had some information about Patriarch Kwong, and he had some impression of him. Patriarch Kwong's face was as calm as an ancient well. The glow in his eyes betrayed his panic. He swallowed and said, "Yes, Luli. I want to know if you're being controlled by demons or not." Patriarch Kwong was smart and tactful with his words. Luli smiled. "What will you do if you're being controlled? What will you do if you're not being controlled?" Patriarch Kwong put on a righteous expression and said coldly, "If you are being controlled, then I will kill you even at the cost of my life. If not, I hope you can help the human race and kill more demons." Ha ha ha. Luli laughed. This Patriarch Kwong wanted to kill Luli, and yet he was pretending to be doing it for the greater good of the human race. Luli sneered. "If I were being controlled, would I waste my time talking to you? Would you still be alive now?" "You are not being controlled." Patriarch Kwong happened to be surprised for a moment. Then he said angrily, "If you are a human, then why did you kill Grandmaster Luo? The human race is suffering and you want to fight with your own kind. What's the difference between you and a demon?" Luli had met many people in his life, but this was the first time he had seen someone so shameless. That being said, given that this man could instruct or acquiesce to Luo Yi to go down to the universe to kill mortals, this man must not be a good person. Buzzing, the interspatial ring on Lu Li's hand glowed as he took out 2 mountains. At the same time, many worms of the void flew out from his body. The demon's slayer glowed in his hand. Pointing at Patriarch Kwong, Lu Li said, "Do it again. Believe it or not, I will tear you to pieces." "You," Patriarch Kwong stared at the 2 mountains and the worms of the void in midair. He felt a chill down his spine. The mountains had defeated Luo Yi, and the worms of the void had eaten Patriarch Chi. Luli had too many tricks up his sleeves. Patriarch Kwong might really die in Lu Li's hands today. Patriarch Kwong said coldly, "Lu Li, what do you want? If you want to fight, I will fight with you. Are you sure?" Chapter 1643. Kneel. Patriarch Hua was enraged. Who was he? He was a patriarch of the Hall of Battles at the Sect of Relics, a well-known figure in the entire divinity. How could Luli ask him to kneel? Was Luli out his mind? Powerful warriors had dignity and pride, and so did Patriarch Hua. Patriarch Hua was enraged by Lu Li's request. He took out a white spear and pointed it at Lu Li. "Lu Li, you have gone too far. You want me to kneel? Are you out of your mind? Is there no room for negotiation?" A glint of coldness rose in Lu Li's eyes. The red glare flickered several times. A mountain in front of him suddenly enlarged and flew toward Patriarch Hua. At the same time, another mountain enlarged and stood in front of Lu Li. Lu Li waved his sleeve and released force from heaven and earth. "Go to hell." Patriarch Hua could not wait for death when Lu Li took actions. He shook his spear and it grew larger. Patriarch Hua used the spear as a stick and smashed at the mountain. Bang! With a muffled sound, the spear was smashed away and the mountain was smashed down. Patriarch Hua was strong. He dashed up like a dragon and threw his spear toward Lu Li. Lu Li had released force in heaven and earth. However, When Patriarch Hua shook his spear, the force in space collapsed. Patriarch Hua was so fast that he had reached Lu Li in an instant. "Worms of the void!" Lu Li shouted. The worms of the void in midair swarmed over. Patriarch Hua glared at Lu Li and soared to the sky like a mad dragon. Just as he was about to attack Lu Li from the sky, a ray of sword light came from the horizon. "Ghost slash!" Lu Li shouted. The ray of sword light whooshed over and made 2 turns in the air. The horrifying force in heaven and earth spread out. Patriarch wanted to run, but he was slowed down. Patriarch remained calm. He shook his spear, and it turned into many spears that flew out one after another. Bang, bang, bang. The spears and the ray of sword light bumped into each other. The spears were smashed into pieces, but the ray of sword light was weakening. By the time the ray of sword light and the ray of sword light came into contact with the 10th spear, the ray of sword light vanished in midair. "Nice!" Lu Li kept a straight face, but he nodded to himself. Elder Kuei was indeed a famous expert of the deity world. He was even able to break through the Ghost King slash. However, it was also because his cultivation level was too low. If he had reached the level of supremacy of the divine world, Elder Kuei definitely would not have been able to stop him. Swish! Lu Li controlled the mountain to fly up and smash into Patriarch Hua. At the same time, the mountain in front of him flew up and grew larger. Elder Jiao was the first to react. He shook his spear and smashed it down heavily, sending the divine mountain below him flying. He used the force to fly up, easily avoiding the suppression of the divine mountain above him. Swish! He moved in an arc and floated over like a ghost. His head was down and his head was up. He spun at a high speed and stabbed at Lu Li's head. The tip of the spear was surrounded by a faint purple stream of air. It looked extremely terrifying. Humph! Lu Li didn't move. He looked up at the spear that was getting closer and closer. He unsheathed his saber. Instead of using the ghost slash, he made a gentle cut. Judging from the outside, there was nothing threatening about this move, and there was nothing horrifying about it. Only those that were targeted by the ray of light could feel it, such as Luo Yi and now Patriarch Hua. The Slayer's move. Patriarch Hua was trembling. He felt the entire world was swallowed by red. A horrifying evil spirit enveloped him and began to invade his body and soul. Patriarch Hua froze on the spot. He could neither see nor feel anything. From the depth of his soul, he sensed fatal danger and fear. Patriarch Hua was wearing a holy grade armor. That being said, Patriarch Hua knew that if he did not do something, he would be severely wounded or die in the next second. Luo Yi, for one, was cut in half by this move. Lu Li, stop. I will kneel. Patriarch Hua shouted with all his strength despite his trembling. As he shouted, the evil spirit vanished from him, and so did the world of red in front of him. Bang! Even though Lu Li had stopped, the ray of light was still there. However, Lu Li had collected the evil spirit in it. Elder Jiao was sent flying by the saber. He spat out a mouthful of blood as his body was sent flying by the explosion. While he was flying backward, Patriarch Hua felt he had bumped into something. He checked with psychic power and was taken aback by what he saw. Many worms of the void had snuck into his body. Lu Li had made one move after another. Patriarch Hua could not fight back. Whoosh! Patriarch Hua flew down and stood in front of Lu Li for thousands of feet. He made up his mind, got down on one knee, and said, Lu Li, I am wrong. Please spare my life for the sake of the human race. Lu Li stood on the peak, emotionless. The red glow in his eyes was gone, replaced by clarity. Holding the demon slayer, Patriarch Hua felt Lu Li was not a young man that had ascended to the immortal realm for less than 100 years. He was more like the renowned slayer. Lu Li looked down at Patriarch Hua and said coldly, Get on your knees and kowtow. Okay. Patriarch Hua got down on his knees and kowtowed to Lu Li. He kowtowed 9 times in a row. Finally, Patriarch Hua looked at Lu Li and asked, Is that enough? What I said was enough, but not now. Lu Li snorted. Cut off your own legs. Cut them off. What? Patriarch's face turned red. He said in grief and indignation, Luli, don't go too far. I have kowtowed to you. Don't go too far. Believe it or not, I can have the worms of the void gnawed off your head when I think about it. Luli pressed on. He looked at Patriarch coldly and said, when you asked Luo Yi to go to the mortal world to kill, why didn't you think this was too far? So many people in the 9 universes have died. If it were not for the fact that the human race is in danger, do you think you would still be alive? Can't you just say one word? Cut. Patriarch closed his eyes. He put away his armor and took out a saber to cut off his legs. His legs were cut off from the knees. Patriarch bit his teeth, but said nothing. His face was twisted and hideous. Luli, are you satisfied now? Patriarch was good at holding back. There was no resentment or anger in his voice. He spoke calmly, as if he were the one who had his legs cut off. Not enough. Luli smiled. Remove the spiritual connection with your armor and give it to me. After all, the craftsman's sect has plenty of holy grade relics. Patriarch almost vomited blood. Luli was not going too far, but a rascal. Luli raised the saber in his hand and said coldly, are you going to give it to me or not? Are you going to turn against me? Here. What? Your spear is nice as well. I think it is a holy grade relic as well. Give it to me as well. Are you going to give it to me? If not, I will. Here. Your interspatial ring is beautiful as well. There must be many treasures in it. Anyway, the craftsman's sect has plenty of treasures. Give it to me as well. What about me? If you don't give it to me, I can take them myself. Everything that kills you is mine. Here, you can have them all of them. Are you satisfied now? After the time for half an incense stick to burn, Patriarch was stripped down to his long johns. Kneeling on the ground, Patriarch felt like crying but failed to shed any tears as he watched Luli leave. Chapter 1644. Luli had completely mastered the Slayer's move. No wonder it was one of the top 10 in the divinity. It was even more ferocious than the Ghost King cut. If it were not for the fact that Luli's realm was too low, once he reached the supreme realm in the divinity, he would be among the top 20 in the divinity. The most horrifying part of the move was the evil spirit, which was a tangible killing intent. When the evil spirit was integrated into the attack, the enemy would be trapped in a world of blood. Before the attack arrived, the evil spirit would enter the enemy's body. The evil spirit would make it impossible for the enemy to defend against the attack of the Slayer's move. Many powerful warriors were strong in defense, but that was when they took the initiative to defend. If they did not and relied on the armor and the physical body, the defense would not be strong. Holy grade relics were strong, but the evil spirit would enter the warrior's body. When the ray of sword light reached the warrior, the force of the ray of sword light would be channeled into the warrior's body, which would explode inside the warrior's body. Slayer's true meaning wasn't a soul attack, so soul defenses weren't very effective against it. It was a baleful aura attack, a very strange attack. This was also the reason why Slayer's true meaning was able to become one of the top 10 true meanings in the divine world. After studying the Slayer's move for so many years, Luli had been trying to find a way to advance it. This time, by chance, he managed to understand the Slayer's original intent. The Slayer's move had reached the perfect realm. Through the fight, just now, Luli had sensed the strength of the Slayer's move, which was much more powerful than the Ghost King cut. Based on his current realm, it was still difficult for Luli to kill Luo Yi, but the Slayer's move had more strength to spare. Luli left the nearby area and flew to the void at once. He did so several times in a row. The arrival of Patriarch K and Luo Yi gave him a sense of danger. What if it was Qiu Lu and Luo Guan who would come next? The Slayer's move was strong, but not so strong that he could kill warriors in the top 10 of the list by himself. The list was not a place for bragging. It was based on real abilities. The fact that the list could be so influential in the divinity indicated that the ranking was reasonable and fair. After several rounds, Luli found a place to hide. Now that he had acquired a holy grade armor, he must take control of it right away. A Saint grade battle armor could save a person's life at a crucial moment. On the other side, Elder Kwong had also retreated, but before he left, he had silenced the nearby scouts. Why did they have to silence him? Naturally, he didn't want them to spread the truth. During the battle, some scouts had been watching the battle nearby, and they had even seen the scene of him kneeling down. After Luli left, the first thing he did was to kill all the scouts nearby. After killing the scout, Elder Kuei went to the nearby prefectural city and gave Yang Feng some instructions. Then, he teleported to Sky Chain City and found Lord Ji and the leaders of the 4 transcendent god organizations to complain. Naturally, the truth had been altered. Elder Kuei said that he and Luo Yi were patrolling nearby when they heard that there was a demon lord massacring the city. They immediately rushed over and found that it was Lu Li. Lu Li and Luo Yi noticed that Lu Li was slaughtering warriors in the city, so they attacked. Unfortunately, Lu Li was too powerful and Luo Yi died bravely. He tried his best, but failed to stop Lu Li. Lu Li escaped. Lord Ji did not say a word. The leaders of the 4 supreme forces were furious. Luo Yi's corpse had been brought back. Also, Patriarch Kuei brought back a scout to confirm Patriarch Kuei's words. They believed it without a doubt. Whether Lu Li was demonized or not, the 4 of them believed that Lu Li killed Luo Yi because Luo Yi and Lu Li were enemies. The evidence was conclusive, and there was no room for doubt. Zhuo Qilu asked Lord Ji to label Lu Li as a human traitor, and all human warriors should be punished. The other 3 agreed. Lord Ji didn't say yes at once. Instead, he asked Zhuo Qilu to send someone to the city to investigate and make sure that Lu Li was indeed massacring and demonized before making a decision. Zhuo Qilu sent someone to investigate. Naturally, the result was different from what Patriarch Kuei said. Lu Li had killed many demon slaves and saved many humans. Zhuo Qilu didn't tell the truth. Instead, he twisted the facts and said that Lu Li had indeed massacred the city and many civilians in the city had been demonized. Now, the city was in ruins and there were bodies everywhere. Many of the bodies had demonic chi and energy. Lord Ji didn't suspect that Zhuo Qilu was lying. He issued an order to label Lu Li as a human traitor, and all humans should be punished. The entire divinity was shocked when the news spread out. There were rumors that Lu Li had been demonized, but many people didn't believe it. Now that Lord Ji had given the order, the matter was settled. Human traitor meant a traitor to the human race. A traitor to the entire human race. This was a grave crime. He was the enemy of the entire human race. From then on, he would not be tolerated by the human race. If the human race could survive, Lu Li would be recorded in history and spurned by the world. His name would go down in infamy. In addition to Lu Li, those related to him would be implicated as well, such as Lu Shi, Qianhuan Han, and the 9 universes. In the future, when the descendants of the 9 universes ascended to the divinity, they might be executed on the spot if they were related to Lu Li. As for Lu Li's family, what was the point of keeping the family of a human traitor in the world? If Lu Li was killed and the human race survived, the Earth Imperial Universe and the Lu family would face a tragic end. Human traitor was the worst name in the divinity. In history, there was a human traitor. 500,000 years ago, there was a master of a major force who surrendered to the demons with his subordinates. In the end, the master's entire family was slaughtered. His name would go down in infamy for thousands of years. Human traitor? Lu Shi, and Holy Princess were at the Tianjin city. They had gone to war with the army. When they heard the news, they sat together, speechless. An hour later, Lu Shi asked, "Holy Princess, do you believe it?" "I don't know." Holy Princess shook her head. "If Lu Li is controlled by the demon, then the Lu Li we know is dead. It is normal for him to do anything. If he is not demonized, he will not do this." "Yes." Lu Shi nodded and sighed. Lu Li has the energy of the demon in him, but he said he was not controlled. I did not see it with my own eyes. If I can see him, I can tell if he is the Lu Li we know. Lu Shi stood up all of a sudden. Holy Princess asked with a frown, Young Master Shi, where are you going? I will find a way to see him. Lu Shi turn around. If he is not demonized, I will find a way to prove his innocence. Nobody can afford to be called a human traitor. Can you find him? Holy Maiden Shui smiled bitterly and said, Even if you can find him, even if you know that he is innocent, can you really prove his innocence? Nobody can prove his innocence. He will have to prove it himself. Alas! Chapter 1645. Human Traitor? Lu Li smiled when he heard the news in a small city. He already had a lot of bad reputation. Now he had another one, human traitor. Human traitors were more intimidating than bastards. A bastard was a traitor to a country, but a human traitor was a traitor to the entire human race. The moment Lu Li heard the news, he almost jumped to his feet. He wanted to kill his way to the Heaven Chain City and ask Lord Ji if the most powerful warrior on the list, the most powerful human, was blind. However, he quickly suppressed the anger in his heart. Perhaps he didn't care too much about these things, or perhaps he was a little disheartened and didn't want to care about anything, so he didn't say anything. He wanted to kill his way to the east and kill as many demons as possible to help the divinity defend against external enemies. Now that he heard the news, his heart sank. If he was a human traitor, the enemy of all humans, why would he help them? Was he a bastard? Was he stupid? Anyone would do the same. He was dedicated to the human race. At the Gold Sun Island, he risked his life to save human warriors. In that small city, Patriarch Huang and Luo Yi wanted to kill him. For the sake of the human race, he let Patriarch Huang go. He didn't want the human race to suffer from internal strife. He didn't expect this outcome. Lord Ji, very good. Lu Li sneered and murmured, Since you are blind, then you can fight the demons by yourself. I don't care. Lu Li was sitting in the tea house with some warriors. Even though Lu Li's voice was low, some still heard him. A glint of coldness rose in those warriors' eyes. One of them slammed the table and shouted, Who do you think you are? How dare you insult Lord Ji? Do you have a death wish? What? There were many cultivators in the tea house. When they heard this person's words, they all stood up and glared at him. Some even took out their weapons. If it weren't for the fact that Lu Li's chi and energy were strong, they would have made a move. Lu Li remained still. He sipped his tea quietly. He didn't look at the warriors around him and said slowly, So what if I insult Lord Ji? You can also pass my words to him. Tell him that I, Lu Li, said it, and that he's blind. How dare you? One of the warriors flew into a rage. He was about to attack when he remembered what Lu Li said. His lips trembled, and he asked, You are Lu Li? That's right. Lu Li took off his mask, grinned, and said, I am human thief Lu Li. What? Are you going to eliminate me for the sake of the human race? Swish, swish, swish. Everyone in the tea house turned pale. Just a moment ago, they were swearing at Lu Li, wishing they could eat him alive and cut him into pieces. But now that Lu Li was here, none of them dared to move. This was Lu Li, the god of massacre. Countless warriors had died in his hands, including 2 supreme warriors in the divinity. Whoosh, whoosh, someone flew down from the tea house and went to the city lord's mansion to report. Many martial artists flew out from the city lord manor, including a few deity worlds almighties. However, Lu Li was sitting leisurely in the tea house by himself. Nobody dared to move. The title of God of Slaughter was not for nothing. It was formed by the accumulation of countless corpses. Lu Li finished a cup of tea and stood up leisurely. He flew to the top of the tea house and looked at the frightened warriors in the city. He said, I am Lu Li, the human thief. Please send a message to the divinity. Since everyone thinks I am a human thief, then from today on, I will not meddle in the affairs of the divinity. Also, help me ask Lord Ji if he's blind. Is he stupid? Does he have a brain? Whoosh. With that said, Lu Li flew away, leaving people in the city looking at each other in bewilderment. There were so many people in the city that the news could not be contained. Many people were more than happy to spread the news. After all, it was Luli who wanted them to. In merely 3 days, the news had spread across the entire divinity. It could not be suppressed. The news swept across the divinity like snowflakes. Luli had spoken openly and called out Lord G, saying that Lord G was blind and an idiot. This caused a huge controversy. Some questioned if Luli had been demonized or not. Others believed that Luli had been demonized and that Luli was trying to smear Lord G's name to destabilize the human army. After Lord G received the news, he remained silent and did not say anything. Zuichio Lu and the others issued an announcement condemning Lu Li by word and pen. They called on the human warriors to keep a close eye on Lu Li and kill the villain. Lu Li disappeared all of a sudden. Nobody saw him again. 5 days later, an announcement was spread across the world. Emperor Yoshing, the commander of the demon world, had his soul slaves to post his announcement on several city gates. Emperor Yoshing named Lu Li King Lu, second only to him. At the same time, Emperor Yoshing announced to the world that the souls of those who surrendered to the demon world would not be controlled by Emperor Yoshing. What's more, Emperor Yoshing would reward them generously. Titles of nobility would not be a problem. Those who did not surrender would be killed and enslaved forever when the demon army swept across the divinity. Apart from Lu Li, several powerful warriors had surrendered. When the news spread out, there was no more debate. Lu Li's reputation as a villain was confirmed. However, Great Emperor Yoshing's plan had worked. The human race was already a little unstable, and the devil overlords had been attacking cities all over the place. Although the human race had sent out many paragons from the immortal world, the number of devil overlords they had killed was extremely low. Many cities were massacred. The human race reacted fast enough to control the situation and stop the demon slaves from spreading. But after such a long time, only 3 demon lords were killed. Inevitably, the human race was worried. The most vicious thing was Emperor Yoshing's last sentence. How many powerful human warriors had surrendered to the demon world? If this was true, then all the human warriors would feel insecure. Who knew if their comrades would stab them in the back? Who knew if the powerful warriors would control more humans to surrender to the demon world? At the critical moment, they would strike back. The first was to attack the heart. The second was to attack the army. Once the heart was in chaos and there were internal problems, no matter how strong the barrier was, it would be broken. Nobody could stop it. All of a sudden, all kinds of rumors were spreading. Not only the average warriors, but also the powerful warriors were in a state of panic. Of course, there were still some sensible people who knew that this was Emperor Yoshing's plot. The problem was they could see through it, but they could not stop others from making wild guesses. Lord G quickly made an announcement, telling everyone not to believe the rumors. He also said that if the demons took over the godly world, everyone would be demonized and no one would be spared. When that time came, it would be the end of everyone. At the same time, Lord G ordered the 3 armies to move. He personally led the army to attack the demon camp, ready to fight to the death. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.